Okay.
Oh, okay, thanks, Matt. Okay. I'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rue de egress, in the event of an emergency, all people may exit right or left from this room and proceed to an exit door. All doors will open from the inside. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Haledon Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published in the North Jersey Record Herald News, the board's official newspaper, on January 15th, 2025. Notices of this meeting indicating date, time, and place were posted publicly on the door of the main entrance to the school and filed with the clerk in the municipality of Haledon. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Serna? Mr. Coletta?
Here.
Ms. Quadrado?
Here.
Mr. Wisman?
Here.
Mrs. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Martinez?
Here.
Mr. Moxell?
Here.
Mr. Ramadan? And Mrs. Issa?
Here. Can I have a motion to pass prior minutes?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Martinez, seconded by Mr. Motzko. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Serna?
Yes.
Mr. Coletta?
Abstain.
Ms. Quadrado?
Yes.
Mr. Wisman?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson? Yes. Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Moxell?
Yes.
And Mrs. Issa?
Yes. Can I have a motion to open the floor to citizens on agenda items only?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Mr. Martinez, seconded by Ms. Quadrado. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the floor is open to citizens on agenda items only. Anything, Mr. Pagani or Mr. Miller?
Motion to close. So moved.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Wisman, seconded by Mr. Martinez. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So moving on to committee reports. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So Mr. Waka, the board members, and in particular our business administrator, Ms. Augustin, have been quite busy since our last meeting. Over the last couple of days, there have been several committee meetings, which chairs will report on tonight. Of note is the school budget draft for the 2025-26 school year that Ms. Augustin will discuss in a little while. In reference to the budget draft, I'd like to make a note that it was very beneficial for the Finance Committee meeting to meet to review the draft with Ms. Augustin on a day before the board presentation. It gave committee members plenty of time to ask questions, have discussions, and kind of let everything sink in before the board presentation, the draft presentation at a subsequent date. So I think this is the best practice that we should, implement for future years. It was beneficial. Regarding our safety and security meeting tonight, I want to thank the Haledon Police Department for always being willing to come to the table to discuss how we can enhance and improve our district's safety measures and for their continuous support of our school and students. They are an integral and invaluable community partner. I also want to thank our administration, including our vice principals, our vice principal of middle school, our guidance counselors, and our SEL counselor for all of their dedication, hard work, and effort that they put into looking out for our students and making sure that they're safe and learning. And that's it for me. I will turn it over to our Chief School Administrator, Mr. Waka.
Thanks, Board President Isa. I have several different items that I want to communicate with this board. To begin with, at 5:30, we had our policy committee. We reviewed several policies. Most of these policies were just changes of wording. Specifically, the modification to the HIB policy states that if we're doing an HIB investigation and there's also a criminal aspect to it, then what happens is we would pause our part of the investigation while the criminal investigation goes on. The policy revision about smoking includes language relating to e-cigarettes and dictates that if we have reason to believe that a vaping device is being used as a means to inhale marijuana or any other type of drug, that we contact local police to inform them. The electronic device policy states that law enforcement agencies will only have access to our camera surveillance footage in case of an emergency situation. So the word emergency was put in. The policy about eligibility of resident and non-resident students states that HPS teachers are allowed to send their children to school at HPS, but that non-teaching employees won't be offered this service. Please note this is not about HPS looking to favor the children of teachers versus the children of non-teaching staff. Instead, simply this is not an option that we're allowed to offer as per the law, unless we charge them full tuition. Lastly, the cell phone device policy outlines that HPS will continue to look to allow students to use a cell phone only if an adult staff member gives them permission. We aren't looking to do a full ban on cell phones, and we will continue to regulate cell phone usage the way we have been regulating it, through our discipline code of conduct. Item 2, in terms of personnel, I'm excited that we're going to welcome back Mr. Mark Tech. He'll once again be a teaching member of our staff. It's always sad when we lose really good employees, but it's always great when they come back and want to work for HPS. So we're happy he's coming back as of April 1st. Item 3, at 6 p.m. this evening, Officer Guzman called for a security committee meeting. Present at this meeting were officers from the Haledon Police Department, the Assistant Principal Spizzato, SEL Counselor Cosgrove, members of our Board of Education and our SRO. The topics reviewed included vape detectors that we're purchasing for next year, the SEL initiatives, the discipline data, and any other topic related to student safety at HPS. Item 4 is during new and old business. I want to review with this board a use of facilities request for a local baseball team. I'll present the facts as I understand them, and then I'll look to administrate this request as the board sees fit. And number 5, I also want to remind the board of 2 important events that are fast approaching. On Friday, we will have our PTA East Coast Professional Wrestling fundraiser in the big gym. The first match will begin at 7 p.m. The guys that run it, they're a lot of fun, and they do put on an entertaining and an acrobatic show for the kids. So hopefully we'll continue to see the attendance grow at this. The deal we have with them is they charge for their tickets to watch the wrestling event, but our PTA gets exclusive rights to sell food and empanadas and pizzas to raise money that way. We're looking forward to this amazing. Oh, additionally, next Wednesday is our annual Tricky Tray, and this year it's being held at the Tide. We're looking forward to this amazing event. I know that the PTA and I know that Ms. Fiorentino have been working very hard to prepare for this. And we're always looking for board members to call numbers at the Tricky Tray. So if you're feeling it that night, please let us know, and that would be greatly appreciated. And lastly, I sent note board that our district will receive about $680,000 less in state aid than we had received the previous year. Lamika will address this in her report, and I will also look to answer any questions that board members may have about this information. But that's it for my report.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Any questions for Mr. Walker? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Augustin, our business administrator.
Thank you, Madam President. So, the first thing I just wanted to mention, like Mr. Walker said about the Tricky Tray, usually the board does a group gift. So please, if you haven't or if you want to participate, please reach out to me and so that I usually go and grab the gift for the board and we send it off to the Tricky Tray. And like they said, the Tricky Tray is March 19th, right?
Yep,
Next
March
week.
19th, a week from today.
Yeah, so if you can get it to me by Friday so I can go this weekend, that would be great, right? The other item that just came up this week is our annual workshop. It's October 20th to the 23rd. We will initially, meaning the central office will initially register everyone to go. And then if you don't want to go, please let me know immediately and we will take you off the registration. I used to do it the other way before, but I wasn't getting responses. And then it was like the last minute people would tell me yes or no. So the group rate doesn't change regardless. We still have to pay the price that's on the agenda of $2,200. It's the same price for everyone that goes. So I'm registering everyone. And if you're not going, please let me know ahead of time. And if there is a spouse or a partner that's attending, please let me know. We need that for the accommodations. the hotel accommodations. And I heard the message loud and clear. I'm trying to get us all into one location so that we can all be in one location for traveling and, just, going to conferences and connecting. Preferably the Oceans Hotel. I've already had the ladies reach out to Oceans, even though it's not open yet, because I don't understand the minute it's open, it's already packed. So we're trying to figure out and how to get ahead of that. So, but if you are not going, let me know. But right now, everyone will be registered and everyone will have a hotel room, okay? In addition, the disclosure forms, I have 7 not started applications. So we are going through CUSAC and these are points. So I really need everyone to get on board and get this done so that we're not penalized during the CUSAC process for this. If you need help, let us know. I know that 2 were returned. We're looking into seeing what the issue was there, but we do have a significant amount that's not has started, and this is due the end of this month, right? Any questions on that?
Yeah, the deadline, I thought the deadline was in April. Deadline is in March. For
End of the month. March 31st is, so.
I thought it was in April.
April 1st.
Oh,
okay, so
I thought
yeah.
it was the end of April. Okay, okay. Got it.
Okay, so a few things on the agenda before I get to discuss about the budget. I just wanted to highlight a few resolutions that are on there. 13.1, we have the security vestibule. This is the proposal for the architect who's working on the drawings, and we're finalizing all those details. We went through quite a few different ideas. We went through different sketches, and now I think we finalized on a design that we like, and now he's just going through the details of, I guess, the wall, the steel, to make sure it's feasible, but it will be an extension outside of the location that that's already existing, so that anyone that's visiting would just be trapped in that one area before they're cleared to come inside. So that proposal is the professional services for our architect. 13.2 is the Bergen County Co-op. And for those who are not familiar with co-ops, the district participate with co-ops in order to have better purchasing power. And also it helps us to move a little bit quicker when it comes to if items are over like, certain bid threshold amount, we can go ahead and without going out to bid or getting a second quote. Obviously, we still do our due diligence. If we feel like something is overpriced, we will get a second quote, but joining a co-op or participating in a co-op gives the board authority to move forward, especially like without any delay. So you'll see different co-ops we approve over the year. Most of the co-ops are approved during the reorg meeting. This is one we just joined just recently. 13.3 is the HVAC facility. I'll discuss a little bit more about this during our budget overview. HVAC, we discussed it a little bit more in the security meeting too. We're finishing up a few extra classrooms that still need to be addressed with HVAC upgrades. So this approval is necessary for us to submit the application to the state in order to give us the go ahead to move forward. So this is the first step in that process because it has to do with HVAC and school improvement. We have to get permission from the school development authority. And I got some questions about SEMI on 13.15. There was a few questions asking what the SEMI is. SEMI is a state program that the districts are kind of obligated to participate with. This program gives the district reimbursements on salaries and any type of services that we provide for kids that are part of the child study team department who are Medicaid eligible. That's not necessarily mean that they are receiving Medicaid, they're just eligible for it. And it's an incentive to districts to try to get those families to participate in the Medicaid program if they're eligible for the benefits. But this is not an option for us, whether we have to do this. We are obligated, and they do. The state actually take a bigger portion of the reimbursement, but we do get part of it. So, but we do have to approve we have to approve an action plan every year if we don't meet that percentage mark by the state. The other item is our annual preschool budget, which is 1316. The preschool annual budget, it is tied into our preschool aid that we get every year. So this is also an item that we have to put a projection of what it's gonna cost us, how much money we have left over, how much the district is contributing to the preschool program, and we have to get it approved by the board first, and then we submit this along with the budget application as a supporting document. So we need the resolution to move forward with that. 13.21 is a approval for a November transfer that was previously approved in November, but I submitted the paperwork to the county, and what it does is every year when we budget in certain categories. And when I get requests for transfers, I have to make sure that it is justifiable. And if it isn't justifiable, or if we need to go over in a subcategory, we have to get permission from the county if it's over 10%. For most of the time, when there is a transfer, most transfers are within the subcategories of when it was budgeted. But sometimes, for instance, this particular transfer had to do with transferring money that was left over in tuition in order to cover a consultant that we needed for a child study team. This did have to do with a special needs student, so we needed to use those funds in order to procure those services for the student. Okay, so but we have to get approval with transparency to let the board know and the public know that we did transfer over 10% in the original budgeted amount. Okay, so it is coming from one pot into another. It's not extra money that's being into the budget. It's just not in the same category as it was originally budgeted. Okay. And the biggest item is the budget, preliminary budget. So I am going to walk everyone through these numbers. If I don't know if there's any questions regarding what I already said before I get to this piece.
I just had a couple of questions.
Okay.
So for the group rate for the workshop,
Mhm.
so it's, it's a flat rate. If people, let's say like only half of the board members go, do you get any reimbursement or no? But it still works in our favor, it still is a discount if more people do go.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's up to
It's still more economical to do the group
Yeah,
rate.
it is definitely more economical, yes.
Okay.
Question I had related to that is, I don't want to go for 4 days anymore, but like, is there a discount to go for just 2 days or something like that, or
The only adjustment that will be made is on the hotel, but not on the registration.
the hotel you
Yeah.
just pay less? Okay.
Yep, per night.
Does anybody else have any questions for Ms. Augustin?
Madam President,
Yes.
can we really take a close look at that, Madam BA, in terms of if a board member or any member of the school community is going to only be able to take 2 nights? It's a lot cheaper than we're paying for the entire 4 nights. So, I mean, are we doing that, or?
Only for the hotel accommodation. The registration is set for the whole time that a person is there, regardless of how long they attend, okay?
Understood, thank you.
Only the hotel.
Anybody else? Okay, take it
Okay.
away.
So tonight we are approving the tentative budget for our district. The resolution on the agenda is 7.1. The total overall general fund budget will be 25,205,182. Our special revenue fund is 2,407,715. And for our special revenues, this includes our preschool aid, and it also includes all of the ESSER funds, Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV. Our total overall budget is 27,612,897, with the amount of the tax levy is 6,841,796. And I am requesting and recommending that the tax levy is raised for 2% this year in order to cover partial or maybe a smidgen of the deficit that we have, and also maintain the programs and the personnel and everything that we have on staff. So that is my recommendation for this year. With that being said, as I review the state aid numbers from the 2024 to 2025, We did go down about 3% in equalization aid, and that the total value amount was over $300,000, which is the biggest amount of aid that the district does receive. And the state did send out a notice that the most they would send out discount, or not really discount, decrease is 3%, and they did us, decrease us to the max in equalization aid. The second item was our transportation aid. We went up a little 1%. We also went down in special education aid about 4% individually. And then security aid went down 14%. And our preschool aid took a significant hit of 20% altogether, with a total value amount of $688,388. So I did a little calculation on, even if we try to make up this amount in our tax levy in order to, just be on target with what we were getting, we will be close to like 9% raising the tax levy in order to make up for that dollar amount. So we, as I said, I'm requesting 2%. That is I guess the fiscal responsible way to go about moving the budget forward without any changes. We did look at the budget in detail and make sure that we budgeted everything we needed and everything that we are going to be able to manage going forward. As far as our revenues that we budgeted for this year, we have over about $200,000 in miscellaneous earned revenue. And that has to do with our interest. We have like refunds that we get sometime from the previous year, tuition refunds. We get refunds through our workers' comp sometimes. We get refunds through any type of prior year adjustments that is needed. I looked at the revenues over the last 3 years, and around $250,000 was reasonable, or of a projection that we can actually budget for this year. We went over the state aid already, but Fund 20 this year, I budgeted conservatively about 20% less. That is what is recommended, because also that is a federal program, and we have to take into account where we don't know what those figures are until July. So conservatively, we take off 20% and budget according to that. And also I want to know, even with the Fund 20 items, we do have about $400,000 worth of salaries that are budgeted there. So I want everyone to be very aware of that too. So if that doesn't come out the way we plan it to be, we have to be able to make those and have those conversations and make those decisions accordingly. But I'm hopeful, and I've never had that big of a significant dip with federal funds, but we are living in unprecedented times. We talked about the SEMI program. It went down 85%. Last year we received or predicted around $31,000. This year we're only slated to get about $6,600. That is a big difference from a previous year. We also budgeted for with our reserves. So I just want to be clear, because I know we've talked about reserves in the past, and that makes us feel comfortable that we do have money set aside, and we should. We were able to save up money, and that's great. But please understand that reserves are exactly for reserves and what they're slated for. So for example, our maintenance reserve, we budgeted about $450,000 for that, because we have some reserves to do that. But that funding is only for required maintenance. We can't crisscross the funds and use it for something else. That reserve is only to purchase or take care of the maintenance, required maintenance within the district. In addition, we have our capital reserve. Again, we're budgeting $2 million worth of projects, and those projects consist of the HVAC project. They also consist of the fire alarm upgrade, and we also have, as I remember that really quick, we have another project. But again, capital reserves are for capital projects. Even though there is sitting for us to use, we only can use those for capital reserves. We can't use it for personnel. We can't use it for special programs. They're restricted for capital reserve. It's great that we have those items available, but I want, when we're looking at the overall finance, understand our restricted reserves are restricted and they have to be used particularly for those items. And we also predicted extraordinary aid. Again, looked at our revenues from the past 2 years. We projected that we'll probably get around $100,000 in extraordinary aid, and we felt that was a reasonable amount to budget for. Our last revenue source is our fund balances. This balance of $1 million, we're budgeted for that due to our recent audit that allowed us to use unassigned money surplus that was left over from a previous year per our audit, and says that we're eligible to use this as a revenue source. So just explain what the surplus excess is. Again, during the audit process, the auditor looks at all of our finances. They looks at what we spent, and there's a percentage that's taken from the actual amount of expenditures that we created from the previous year. With that calculation, we're allowed to use any leftover funds from that year, and we can apply it to the general budget. So out of all of the reserves and the restrictive categories, the surplus fund balance is the only line item that we can use to budget and balance our budget, and it can be used for salaries or anything that the district need at that point. So we did accumulate enough funding over the years to do that, but the only concern with that, I mean, it is a positive, is if we don't have that $1 million next year and we have a decrease in state aid, now we're down 1.6. But hopefully that's not the case. We're being hopeful, and we're going to continue to be fiscally responsible throughout the year while we're maintaining our budget and maintaining what we have now. So overall, with the request to increase the tax levy 2%, our overall budget is $27,612,897. Now, Mr. Walker and I talked about this prior to the state aid numbers coming, and we wanted to make sure that even though we are, asking for the 2%, we want to make sure that the board knows what we're going to do to maintain our budget and not create any additional expenditures that we can't handle in the future, right? So I just want to make a kind of rundown what we discussed. So we're asking for the 2% to maintain our budget. We're asking that's fiscally responsible as a district that we should do. We discussed any type of position that we have, we're going to make sure that we're replacing, not creating new positions whenever necessary. So when in the future, if there is a new hire on the agenda, we want everyone to understand a new hire does not mean necessarily that's a new position in the district. We're going to replace positions, but we're not going to create a new position, because we want to make sure that we are creating an atmosphere where the board is secure with the finance, and then also our environment, our staff is secure that they will be here. We don't want to over budget and extend the budget any more than where we are now. So we're going to be replacing, but not creating new positions whenever necessary. Now, I like to put that disclaimer, because if there's a special needs issue where we have to expand a classroom and it's required by the state, we're going to have to do that, okay? But right now, that is the plan, to replace an employee, not create new positions. So are there any questions on that?
Okay.
Okay. In addition, we're going to look to make sure some of the programs academically will continue. The non-academic programs, Mr. Walker and his team will go through that to see if it's something feasible that we can continue. But all the academic programs that was discussed, that we're going to continue. And I also stated that all the reserves entered are for reserves, and there's nothing additional that we can use for, such as salaries and other areas for those reserves. And I also want to note that the preschool program, all of the Fund 20 items, they run independently. They're not burdening the tax levy with that. Those programs or area that you see on the budget are running independently. So we don't want to look at it as if we, for instance, our preschool salaries, we have about $600,000 worth of salaries on that, but those are covered. Those are covered through the program, so there's no concern there. Our title program, like I stated before, I budgeted 20% less, but we still can cover the salaries that are there. So we're good there. So anything that is, for instance, the family liaison programs like the Saturday school, the homework club, detention, those are all coming out of Title I funding. So more than likely, those programs will be able to continue because they're there. Unless Mr. Walker and his team wants to, decide to go in a different route and kind of, pick programs that are more, geared towards academics or, that's their decision to make there. But just to let everyone know that those salaries are fine. And I spoke about the classroom programs, capital projects, and all the piping project. That was the one that I didn't discuss. And we also have some classrooms that we are going to be covered through the HVAC program. So overall, once again, I just want everyone to understand that raising the tax levy 2% at minimum is the least we can do here to maintain. We have to make sure that we don't fall backwards by not doing it this year. And then next year, now we're down 4%. And then it just keeps compounding negatively. So I want everyone to really, ask questions, let's discuss it, but understand that this is important for us to move forward because we don't know where we're going to be next year. We talked about this last year when we were at the budget table. Last year, we discussed this. We said that there's a possibility that this can happen. It happens. So now we have to make sure that our community is secure, that they can continue to have a good education, and our teachers and our staff are secure that they can continue being part of the HPS family. Okay? So that is the overview of the tentative budget. We will have the public hearing budget once the county approves it in April 30th. That will be our public hearing, and you'll get more, the big presentation. But I just wanted to have a conversation with everybody and let them understand that we have to be fiscally responsible with our budget and continue to grow it because the state aid is going backwards. We have to move forward. Okay? Any questions or discussions?
I have a couple of questions. So like you said, we brought this up last year. Guys did well for a long time. We didn't have to raise taxes. We raised taxes last year. One question was, the first one, how many new positions in the last 2 years have we created?
I don't have that answer for you, but we could get that answer for you. And I don't think it was that many created. I think we were
Off the top of my head, within if the last 2 years is our time frame, just the preschool. We expanded our preschool,
Which is separate fund.
which is separate funded. To the best of my knowledge, that's the correct answer.
In the last 2 years, I asked each time, how many cuts? Have we cut anything? Because I asked about it last year, and it was, oh, we have a really good relationship with the state, and we always get state aid. And I was here saying, hey, that's great, until you don't get it, and then our taxes have to go up. And it's not a shot at anybody in the room. No one here did anything negatively to cause the state aid to go down. But what was cut or looked at being cut? It's great. We don't want to cut educational programs. We don't want to see people be fired. I was a Patterson police officer. I got laid off. I know what it's like to go to work and be told, hey, you're not gonna have a job. But what have we looked to actually cut rather than say, hey, we could raise, even with cuts, you're probably gonna have to raise the taxes to 2% levy to cover it because you can get further cuts going on next year. But what in the last 2 years have we even looked to cut? Have we cut a single project or done anything in terms of reducing the amount of money we're spending? We spend a lot of money. It's $27 million in a 1 square mile. It's a lot of money to be spent.
Yeah, so the biggest part I can say is that a lot of the programs or things that we spend through ESSER, we don't have that anymore. All right, so that is what, some of the different things that were done through ESSER, that's not budgeted here. Anything that we budget specifically is rolled over to the Title I. Like I said, the homework club, the detention club, all those other clubs, they're being covered under Title I now. So right now, I'm summer programs, some of them, I think we're keeping just one.
The thing is,
Yeah.
to answer your question, my goal is to grow as many programs as possible, right? So when we get year after year after year after year, really good state aid, and then, COVID was a terrible thing, but we, financially, we received a lot of compensation for it. We were able to add so many new programs. Now, is there a plan of, a priority of which ones, if we had to make cuts, would go first? Absolutely. There's certain things that, we're not going to be able to offer that we currently offer that we're not going to look to offer next year. And then as far as, what comes next, to me, the programs that we've seen, like coming off COVID, the next 2 years of state test, we saw a 13% raise in ELA and math, and the next year we followed up with a 4% on top of that. So I think the programs that are going to put students with academic focus, like the tutoring or the BOSS program, those are the ones I'm going to really put as much effort as we can to hold on to them. And the programs where, that benefit students, mental health and awareness and things like that. So to me, those are going to be the priority. And we have documents about the recommendations from the parent academies that we had, I think it was a year or two ago. But yeah, now it's a time where it's no longer time. It's not times of plenty. It's times where we might have to start, cutting, and there's a plan for that.
What is at the top of your list to cut, if any?
It would depend how much of the
Programs.
for this current budget.
You said you had a list.
Yeah.
Of what you would be able
For
to
this
cut.
current budget, there's going to be certain PD opportunities that we're going to, look to go a different direction in. And if I could offer all the same programs that I've been offering with just those cuts, and then after that, we're going to have to rank and prioritize, which student groups or student activities, that's going to be a thing too. And the other part of this too is, we signed for a very long time. I think that the teacher's contract, the salary guide, it probably wasn't the strongest salary guide, in Passaic County, or it was probably towards the bottom of it. I think that the board invested in a very fair contract with the teachers. But when we vote for a 4-year contract that both sides feels is in the best interest, we're locked into those numbers now for the entirety of that collective bargaining process. So, I could cut programs, but at the same time, like if we really have to make up money, the only way to really make up money that's significant is going to be to lay off staff. That's to me the route that if we have to go, then we have to go there, right? But I prefer not to, because I think the more adults in the building that are doing good things for kids, that's the best thing for us. But yeah, that's the only way to make up big time money if we had to.
And is every position that we currently have needed?
Yes.
So I have a question as far as being proactive, and the reserve funds, that's being proactive, right? So every time we put money in that reserve fund, that's something that we can go to, because that's not restricted, right? So that reserve fund, and we built it up. So
No, the reserves are specifically for their 3 categories of reserves that we have. We have capital reserve just for capital project. Maintenance reserve is just for restricted maintenance. We have emergency reserves for a specific emergency, which does require county approval, and it has to be for unforeseen circumstance.
right.
When
So we can't use that for salaries, but we could use it for those designated.
categories.
Right.
Now,
So that is a form of being proactive, is having those reserves, right?
I mean, it's not gonna help a person's job, if that's the question you're asking. What we could do, which we did this year, is we were able to use the excess surplus fund balance to balance the budget. So
Yeah.
we do have the opportunity every year in June to make sure that part of the fund balance is healthy so that we can use it as a line item to budget our budget. So that has been helpful for us for the last 3 years. And I just want to make sure that we just understand that's also, it's calculated at the end of the year according to what we spend and whatever's left.
Yeah.
So it's a form of aid that's unpredictable too.
Yeah,
You
so
know, but
it's,
it's our own aid that we're kind of creating,
right,
right?
so it
So-
is being proactive, you know, it's not, I understand that it can't go towards salaries, it can't go to, it's restricted, so you can't, you know, use it for anything, but it does go to to balancing our budget. And then we have the advantage of using it as surplus if we're able to
Yeah,
for the
only
following,
percent, only 2%.
but carrying over.
We have a max of 2% we can put into surplus every year.
Madam
And
President,
then then the remaining balance is restricted into capital maintenance and emergency. But we do have a percentage that we could use towards salary. That's only if it's available. It's not a guarantee, okay?
Okay, yep, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Guzman.
I just understand the conversation, very important, we have to plan ahead. But let's be clear. The Helena Public School District is in a good, stable financial situation. You know, and that's clear. We're still 100% debt-free. Even the time we didn't raise taxes for 5 years straight because of state aid coming in and so on and so forth. Strategically putting money away to do that school expansion. We can go on. What we have right now is the bare minimum. They cut our state aid. What are we gonna do? Just roll over? We're not gonna roll over on this. We're gonna go down for Trenton. We're gonna fight for the money that the school district deserves, so we can look after our children. You know? So with that being said, I'll bring something up on the new business. I wanna make a motion for a resolution. We wanna hand deliver it to our state senator, Benji Wimberly, our Assemblywoman Shavonda Sumter, and our Assemblyman Olive Delaziz. We have to fight for the money that our children deserve. Can't just roll over on this. We need every penny. Every penny counts.
So I have a question, Mr. Guzman, about that, because we did talk about this a little bit last night at the Finance Committee, like in terms of lobbying. So is that possible to lobby just for a district and not statewide?
Absolutely, that's what we're elected to do. We're gonna lobby for our district.
For state funding?
For state funding, other districts have done it, that they've been cut and they've lobbied and they've gotten their money. As long as we I'm not saying that anything is guaranteed.
Yeah.
But we're here to fight for the best interests of our children and our school community. And as long as we can, in my estimation, articulate why we need certain funds for, okay, I think we have a good fight. And again, we're in a very solid fiscal situation right now. Despite of our state aid being cut, our capital reserves are healthy, which is probably why our state aid got cut. They take a look at our capital
It's
reserves.
more about enrollment and it looks at the different categories that they give, that's what they look at. I don't want them to look at our capital reserves.
Yeah, sure. You know, but we've always been told, be careful with the capital reserves,
Yeah.
but those capital reserves, let's be clear, have been strategically put away. That's how we were able to do so many projects. We strategically put money away. So why should we be penalized because we've been fiscally responsible the last several years? You know, so we have to keep fighting, and we have to count on Mr. Walker and his team to come with a plan to this board that we can all agree on to continue moving this district forward. I think that's that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
And just to clarify, right, the last 5 years that we didn't raise taxes, we kept our citizens' pockets full for those 5 years. Then a year or two that we raised 2%, we divide that over the last 7 years, it's cents to what's really being charged to the homeowner or the citizen paying taxes in houses. So it wouldn't really hurt them or us, right? I live here too. Obviously, I don't want an increase, but if we have to, for our children's sake, and to make sure that the classes and the teachers are kept here, I think it's fair.
5
Just
years
so-
ago was different from today. I
Well-
mean, both the eggs are
Yeah.
Understood.
different.
And I think yesterday during the finance team committee meeting, we discussed, I was explaining to everyone what base cap is, and you brought up a good point. So being that we did not raise the taxes for 5 years, the state does allow districts to bank cap the money set aside in case there is a need to raise the tax levy over 2%. Now, the money doesn't realize until you put it on paper and you go through the whole process of approving your budget. But in your packet, there is a sheet that tells you how much bank cap the district does have and is allowed to raise your tax levy over 2% without going to the voters. So, and it's, we have almost $1 million in bank cap that is stored away on paper for now, and it realizes only when the, you know,
When needed.
the district gives us a charge, but it does expire every year. So you only can save up 3 years at a time. So whatever we have in from 2022-23, which is 145,368, and being that we're not using that
That'll be
will
done
expire, and it just continues. Okay, so
So,
this is something we need to watch too every year.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Madam President, so yeah, so just for the record, I don't want to put you on the spot, Madam BA, you don't have to answer, but I understand what you're saying. We have new board members, we have public. In your estimation, do you feel like the Hilton Public School District is in a healthy financial situation right now? You have to be careful, obviously.
I'm always thinking, okay, as of today, but I'm always thinking forward. You know,
Understood.
because even when you met me, that was the first
Yeah,
conversation.
absolutely,
I
yes,
had with
ma'am,
you, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah, so I'm not only planning for today, I'm planning for tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Okay,
Correct. Thank you.
so I don't like what I see today, okay? I know that we cannot do this next year at all.
Mhm.
We cannot have a decrease of $600,000 at all. Then there's going to be real serious conversations.
Mhm.
All right, so this is not something we can do next year. So we can maintain, because I told you that, this year, the way we are.
So if
But we cannot
raise it-
maintain next year.
So if we raise the percentage to 6%, let's say, how much leeway would that be?
So if 10% is 932,000.
So that's about $400,000.
So, I mean. it is
That's
what it is.
raising the
That's what
tax levy
happens.
to about, yeah.
I was thinking of 2.5 because 2.5 would keep us healthy.
Program or jobs, honestly.
Go ahead, Mr. Charles.
I would like to clarify if possible. Again, it's not an attack on anybody. I appreciate the work that was done before I was on the board. I am not advocating to see people be laid off. However, my fear is, and I expressed this last time, is that everything everyone is saying is through rose-colored glasses. We, as you stated, we're living through unprecedented times. 87% of the district's budget is a gift from the state, like I explained last time, where at any moment it could be gone and we could end up like East Orange with no money and devastated. And it can happen that fast. And all it takes, this is with a education-friendly governor with friends of the town on, you know, assembly, state senate, and our aid was still cut. The fear is that what happens when it doesn't go that way in the next election, and you have someone who doesn't care to spend everyone else's money for the town of Haledon. That's my only fear, and it's very cavalier to say that 2% is not gonna hurt somebody because you don't know other people's situation. That's not like, I would rather cut programs if it was a savings where we wouldn't have to, like, I don't wanna raise people's taxes. You guys did a great job not doing it for a long time. I understand that that may be something that we have to do. I'm not advocating today to say, hey, let's start firing people and laying people off because you devastate families and the problem will compound. And the school has done well, like you said, without the COVID money and everything else, we wouldn't have been able to build this extra stuff for the school. All those jobs are pre-K jobs, which are protected under this other funding. So like, I do think we have to, the answer I got when I asked was, what have we looked to cut? And there was no answer, which means we haven't cut anything. So since the time I've been on the board, and you do a great job in like the amount of work you put in, it's not a shot at all. Like, you know, I come off aggressive, but that's unacceptable. Like if I'm at home and I don't have money, we have to cut. Like, we have to look at what can be saved. And the answer of, oh, well, it's only 2%, don't worry about it. Well, it's only 2% last year. And it's only 2%. And then, oh, hey, great, we have this bank cap. people can't afford it's only 2% here, but then Manchester's gonna raise you 2%, and the town's definitely gonna raise you 2% because it never ends. They never cut it. When's the last time they cut your taxes? So I do think we should look at reviewing what can be cut, if there's anything, and you're gonna end up having to raise the taxes anyway because of the situation we're at, and you don't want to compound the deficit next time. But I do think there has to be a look at cuts, and there does have to be a discussion of jobs, but I'm not advocating for people to lose their jobs. But, has to be a real situation, because they could cut more. You could, they're talking about getting rid of the Department of Education, all this stuff. You could end up with quick 87% of your money gone, and there's nothing you can advocate for it. But like you said, I think our friends in the state legislature will be happy to help us. However, there might not be any money there to help us.
So to your point, Mr. Coletta, last night at the Finance Committee, we were talking about cuts and what's going to have an impact. What kind of cuts are gonna have an impact? Like cutting a little program here, a little program there is not really gonna have a big impact. What's going to have an impact, which is what we all don't wanna do, would be cutting salaries. So we were talking about strategies that we could do to try to create revenue. So, I mean, being a
Revenue
school,
for
there are only
that amount? Revenue for that amount?
yeah, let me hear me out. So being a school, there aren't huge streams of revenue, so, but there are certain things that we could do, like facility rental, what else did we have here? The grants for fund certain programs, and then using that
And I
funding
think
for
we were
something
talking about
else.
the shared services with transportation,
Yeah,
like those
yeah.
items, we're going to be making sure we look at that we are, on the favorable side of that,
Yeah,
But
so-
the facility rentals, I've seen it firsthand, that does work. It gives a sense of cash flow that you could use for particular programs. So I think that is something that I think we discussed getting together to talk about, like putting pricing and, making sure that we are, charging the facilities fees appropriately for whatever, whoever wants to rent. Because that is what schools do to create revenue. And you
Right.
can use that for particular programs that you might want to fund.
So it's not just a matter of where we can cut, it's also where we can create some revenue.
Madam President, I just have a question for the superintendent. We can obviously talk about this all night. It's clear that we have to prepare for the future. Mr. Walker, off the top of your head, we happen to know how many teachers, how many staff members are, let's say, due for retirement anytime soon? Obviously, we save money through attrition.
Yes, we've had a couple staff members either, tell us they're gonna retire, or formally in the letter to the board office, or just kind of say, hey, Ms. Rock, by the way, I'm gonna leave at the end of this year. So we might get some breakage there. The problem though is with the teacher shortage, like, it used to be like you could, if a teacher worked for 20, 25 years, they're a pretty high step, and then they retire, and there's so many people looking for teaching jobs where you naturally hire the next person at step one, and then have this big breakage. With the teacher shortage, it's become almost like an arms race trying to hire staff, where like if I hire someone on step one and they do agree, it's not going to take them very long before they realize they could make a lot more money going to another district. So that's kind of everything's getting more expensive, and I also think too that I don't know enough to know the X's and O's of what tariffs are going to do to our budget, but not everything we buy is bought from America. I'm sure a lot of the stuff we buy is shipped from overseas, so that might add to an extra expense. I think that I'm always going to look within a year's budget to get as many positive and instructional and helpful experiences and programs for kids. And then, when we plan the next year's budget, we plan based on the facts that we're presented with. In this case, it's a $688,000 reduction in state aid. So I'm going to look to do as many important things for kids as possible. And it looks like right now that we're going to be able to do that. Lamika's point and Mike's point's accurate in that, like, we can't keep making $688,000 cuts every year without there being, the end result of less staffing. Like that's just how it's going to have to be. but, you know, I'm looking to maximize, you know, as many good things as we could do for the kids in the community in next year's budget, and then, you know, go from there. And if we have to have a year where, you know, we do have to lay off some staff members because of another 2 or 3 years of bad numbers, then that's what we have to do that year. And it's gonna be my job to plan for it and try and make that go as smoothly as possible. But, you know, everything runs better when you know, we have adults that are good in the building with kids.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
I would like to have an outside company make sure that we need every single position that we have available.
Is, Jen, are you on there? The attorney, Jen Osborne? Jen, could you, is that something, could you speak to that?
Can you take
Oh,
off
she's
mute?
muted, yeah, Jennifer Osborne. This is our attorney, Mr. Merlino. This is one of his partners. Mr. Merlino is in court today, so he can't be here.
And she's still muted.
She's still muted.
Yeah, she's
You're
still
muted.
muted.
We're trying to chat. Ask her to unmute. Can you hear us, Jen Osborne?
Yes. She's just muted. There you go.
There you go.
Okay, sorry, I can hear you, but I was muted by the person controlling it. Sorry, yes, I can hear the question of bringing in an outside vendor, so to speak, in order to audit the district to determine if you, if all of the positions that you have are needed. Is that the question?
Yes,
Okay, so that is possible. I mean, of course, that also costs money in terms of bringing, you know, that outside source. It's also something that can be done, you know, in district in terms of, you know, looking at, you know, your class sizes, your overall student enrollment, you know, teacher schedules, staff member schedules, to see if there is sort of a better way to arrange things, which will also kind of tell you whether or not you're sort of appropriately staffed or you're overstaffed. It could show that you're understaffed, you know, in looking at that as well.
yeah, okay, thank you. So, Ms. Turner, are you asking that in terms of the budget and cutting salaries
Right.
to? So I think we all agree that that would be a last resort. And if I understand you correctly, Ms. Augustin, we're not there right now. We don't need to do that right now.
We are there. We are there. She just said 2% is the bare minimum.
Well, minimum, not maximum. We can raise more
Yeah, so.
and
let's
have a
do the
more
6%.
cushion if we wanted to. But the 2% minimum is actually fair if you do the math.
No,
over
it's the
last-
bare minimum.
It's also the cap without that.
Madam President, can we
Can't go
can we
on.
express to the board members we shouldn't speak over each other? Nobody should speak without permission of the presiding
Yes, let's,
commissioner.
yeah,
please.
please, one at a time. Okay, so, well, I don't think we are there. I think the cutting salaries, cutting, you know, staff is a last resort. And with the 2% tax levy, we can maintain what we have right now. We don't want to cut staff. We don't want to cut teachers. We don't want to do that. That's a last resort. We don't need to do that right now. If we lose funding again, as Mr. Walker said, as Ms. Augustin has said, we may have to make those tough decisions, but we don't have to do that right now. That's, you know, that's not,
It's not in the best
I don't
interest.
If we got-
think
if we
that
got-
that's gonna help the
If we
situation.
got to a point where, you know, the budget could not, like the zero sum, we couldn't get to balance the budget with our current staffing, then I would have to reduce it. There's no indication that right now we're at that point. I think to Ms. Cerna's point, you know, I know it's a totally different district, but, you know, last night I voted to raise out my taxes to 3.9% because I think there is something to be said about, you know, the homeowner's property value is somewhat tied to the reputation of the district and the services that a district offers. And I think it's, you know, as a board member, I want to, you know, let's get as many nice things for the kids as possible. And I also wanted to do that because I don't, Haledon Public School is heavily reliant on state aid. It's like 30 or 40% or something, but really highlight that. And I think it gives you more certainty as to what your budget is going to be like any given year if locally you have, more and more control of it. I think that this board should factor in also things like people that are on fixed income. We're looking out for the best interests of the kids, but the kids are still part of the community, so you don't want to look to price people out with taxes. So I think it's something for this board to consider. That's why I was comfortable advocating for the 2%, which, to be honest, I don't think there's going to be, and maybe Jenna, you've heard otherwise, but I don't think very many districts in the state, if any, are going to do less than 2%. And I think now with the back cap, I think you're going to see a lot that are going to go over 2%, but I would be shocked if there was even 1 or 2 or 3 districts that they're going to do 0% tax increase moving forward anyway.
Madam President?
Yes, Mr. Griswold.
And I'll report this on the security, but at the security meeting, I asked the administration for a demographic study to see where Heldon's going to be at 10 years. What's our enrollment going to look like? What's our population going to look like? Heldon has grown so much between the 2010 census versus the 2020 census. I mean, we have more residents in North Heldon for the first time in history. With that being said, we have to trust our school administration to go back to the drawing board and come to us with a plan. And I think that's what we should do. We should trust our BA, we should trust our superintendent to go to the drawing board and understand that the work starts immediately. The work has been going, it's been going on, and come back to I recommend they come back to the board sooner than later with a long-term plan to see where we're going to be at down the line. Otherwise, we can be here all night long. What we should cut. I don't think this is the forum or the time to talk about what we should cut. We should cut this.
Well, I asked for a audit. I didn't ask for anybody to cut. So the audit would say.
Well, we have an audit.
We have an audit.
We don't have.
You should have got it. Didn't you get it?
No, an audit to see if every position is necessary. That's what I asked for. It's not cutting anybody. It's just to see whether or not every position is necessary in this building. After that, then we can proceed, but for now, we have to see if every position that we have currently is needed.
Well, as Ms. Osborne said, that's something that could be done in district, and that's something that Mr. Waka, you said, that's going to be one of the things that we look at. We're going to look at programs. We're going to look at, like the whole notion of not creating any new positions, just replacing, maybe, moving staff around to fill different certification requirements.
I think the key word is,
Mr. Walker, are you opposed to if the board agrees to bring in an outside and through your studies to bring an outside agency to do a?
Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to direct you to find that, but if there's a resource that I wouldn't be opposed to it at all. I think the word needed is a key word here, in that the board approves in May the position control roster. So it's my job to fill that position control roster. If we had a year where we couldn't make the revenue meet the expenses, then I would recommend to this board that we minimize the position control roster and shorten it. If the word need, we need to meet FAPE, free to appropriate public education. That's what we need to make. It becomes a little more difficult when you have to predict what special ed needs, or what, if you have 3 or 4 families move in with, severe medical or mental needs, that's going to change your whole budget, especially in a town like this where we're not that big, where, 1 or 2 or 3 families moving in with certain needs, that's going to change things. So, but with that position control roster, it would be for me to, if we didn't believe we could make revenue meet expenses, then we'd have to look to most likely make that shorter than it is.
Anybody else before we move on to the next agenda item? Sorry?
We're still in committee room.
Oh, well, the next committee. Oh, no, actually, so Ms. Augustin, you're done? Okay, so let's go back. Thank you, Ms. Augustin. And So you will present this draft, so we're
You're
voting on,
approving the resolution, I have to submit this to the county
Yep.
next week.
okay, so the resolution is not.
7.1. So
Okay,
we will have to
so-
go to,
Yep.
not this minute, but, yeah.
So, okay, so we need, can I have a motion to,
You don't have to do it right now.
Oh.
You can go through your committee reports and then, when you get to it. do an
well, it's
agenda.
actually, oh, I see, it's,
We're in committee
yeah,
reports.
okay, right, okay. All right, so we'll vote for that after the committee reports, okay. All right, so let's go then to personnel and management.
Agenda items only.
Okay, curriculum and technology, Ms. Quadrado?
Agenda items only.
Policy and public relations, Mr. Coletto?
We had a brief meeting. I thank Mr. Waka and the rest of the members of the committee for coming out. We had clarification on some questions that I had mainly with that agenda items on.
Okay. Security and safety, Mr. Guzman?
Yes, Madam President, I just want to say, as a longest serving board member here, we've been here before. Times were scary, we didn't know where we were going, state aid was cut, and we persevered. And it's not like, it's not about the rose-colored glasses, Mike, but I'm gonna remain positive, and we're gonna see what we can do to move this district forward. We've done it before, and we're gonna do it again. As long as we stick together, we will get through it. As far as security safety is concerned, we had a very productive meeting. I want to thank Mr. Waka, our business administrator, Mrs. Augustin, our social emotional learning counselor, Mrs. Cosgrove, our vice principal, Mr. Sposado, Detective Sergeant Jessica Funes. Our technology department was also present, as well as Mr. Coletta and Mrs. Johnson. We talked about an array of things relative to school security. Mainly, we discussed a memorandum of understanding between law enforcement and school officials. And with that being said, agenda items. I do have one request, if I may. During that meeting, Mr. Sposado spoke about all the mediations that have been taking place in the Hilton Public School District to drive down assaults and any fighting or quarreling amongst the student body. It's a very, very inciting graph, and I would ask that Mr. Walker, if you can share that with the rest of the board. That would be
Yeah,
great.
if this board is okay with it, we talked about, the educational, the informative aspects of the board meeting. I think, if we invited Mr. Sposado to come and kind of present that, I think that would be a topic that the board would like would benefit from hearing.
Yeah, and actually the list that Ms. Cosgrove gave us with all the activities, that was something that we talked about, that we had requested for a future meeting.
That's
Like
right, that's
at
right.
one of the past meetings.
Mhm.
So if that list could be
could-
shared of all the SEL activities, that would be good too for the other board members to see.
Madam President, stealing my thunder. But yeah, absolutely. Mrs. Cosgrove spoke about all the social emotional learning initiatives for 2024, 2025. It's an awesome list here. And again, I would appreciate it. I would be sent to the rest of the board. That's another position that was created, but it's my understanding, obviously, I think we use ESSER funds.
That was the ESSER fund.
For
Right
the
at the
social
beginning of
emotional
COVID.
learning coach. So yeah, a lot of great things. The bait detectors, auto locks for certain doors that we have to wrap up. Some technology initiative with security cameras, the front door security project. And that concludes my report on security safety. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Guzman. Community engagement, Ms. Quadrado.
Agenda items only.
Okay, and finance and physical plant, Mr. Motzko.
We met yesterday, went over the budget as BA just discussed. Other than that, agenda items, then pay some bills.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Quadrado, State and County.
There's not much to report. Governor Murphy did make his annual budget address. He also extended the previous law, which was signed in December, through January 30th for the posting of public notice. So he extended that to June 30th. The Assembly Education Committee did approve instruction on cursive handwriting for the next school year. However, it is on hold because the Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee has to review it. So that's on hold for now. We haven't heard anything, but that is possible that next year the students grades 3 to 5 will have to have cursive studies again.
And then they'll learn how to do a signature, because no kids know how to do a signature.
No, I look forward to that. I actually
Yeah.
like that. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Osborne, anything for attorney report?
No report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so then let's go back now. Personnel and management, Mr. Guzman.
I'd like to move the items on the agenda relative to personnel and management, but before we do that, do we need to pass the tentative budget first?
Yes.
I'd like to move the tentative budget. Just keep in mind that there's $2.6 million in here for capital projects. For classroom HVAC replacement, rooftop HVAC upgrade, fire alarm upgrade, pipe replacement, $2.6 million. Is this something we want to reconsider? Something we can?
You only can use that for capital projects. We're gonna reconsider. You only can use that for capital projects.
Understood, but in terms of, obviously, finance vetted everything, is this something we want to hold off on, or we're ready to go on this?
I'm ready to go on it.
I
I don't
think,
have, we've been discussing this for years.
yeah,
I move the tentative budget.
can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Guzman, seconded by Ms. Quadrado. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Serna, Mr. Coletta,
No.
Ms. Quadrado,
Yes.
Mr. Guzman,
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson.
Yeah.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Moxell,
Yes.
and Mrs. Issa.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, so now we'll go to personnel and management. Mr. Guzman,
I'd like to move 8.1 through 8.14.
Second.
moved by Mr. Guzman, seconded by Mr. Motzko. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Serna,
I'm gonna say no to 8.6 and 8.9, everything else is yes.
Mr. Coletta?
Abstain from 8.1, yes, for us.
Ms. Quadrado?
Yes.
Abstention too. That's in finance, okay. Mr. Guzman?
Can I change, the 8.8, that's also no. For me, sorry.
Mr. Guzman?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
For 8.9.
20, is that up to 20 hours or is that like a set?
That would be the maximum amount of hours for that.
No. For 8.9.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Moxell?
Yes.
And Mrs. Issa?
Yes. Okay. Curriculum and technology, Ms. Quadrado.
I'm gonna move 9.1 through 9.8.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Quadrado, seconded by Mr. Martinez. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Serna?
Abstain from 9.2. No for 9.4 and 9.6. Everything else is yes.
Mr. Coletta?
I have a quick question on 9.1. Again, I seem to ask every time. Mr. Mann is a shared employee, to the best of my recollection, but he seems to be on every agenda for another professional development. Is it possible that maybe Manchester could spend money out of their budget to
They
the
are
revenue?
invoiced 50% of whatever
Is that what-
workshops.
okay.
That's the
Alright.
shared service agreement.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, I vote no to all of them.
Ms. Quadrado?
Yeah.
Mr. Desmond?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Maxwell?
Yes.
Mrs. Zissou?
Yes. Policy and Public Relations, Mr. Coletta.
I'd like to make a motion to move 10.1 and 10.2.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Coletta, seconded by Mr. Motzko. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Serna?
Yes.
Mr. Coletta?
Yes.
Ms. Quadrado?
Yes.
Mr. Desmond?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez? Mr. Maxwell?
Yes.
And Mrs. Zissou?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then we don't have anything for student safety or community engagement, so I'm going to skip down to finance and physical plant. Mr. Motzko.
Motion to move 13.1 through 13.21.
So
Moved by Mr. Motzko, seconded by Mr. Martinez. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Serna?
No to 13.6. And, yes, sir.
Mr. Coletta?
Yes.
Ms. Quadrado, with the recommendation to abstain from PO 500-431.
Correct. Abstaining from PO 500-431, and yes, to everything else.
Mr. Desmond? And also-
Abstaining
Mhm.
from 13.19, and my vote is yes.
Are you abstaining from the POs that in that
Correct.
resolution or
I'm
everything?
abstaining from PO 405 and 501.
Okay. Mrs. Johnson? Yes. Mr. Martinez?
yes.
Mr. Maxwell?
Yes.
Mrs. Zissou?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on to new and old business.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Guzman.
on the new business, we'll make a motion to have our Madam Secretary draft a resolution. Perhaps the Finance Committee can review it and kick it to the board. Vote it up or down to be delivered to our state senator, to assembly representatives, our honorable mayor and council. Explaining our fiscal situation and the need for the state to fully fund our schools. If anybody has a second, I would really appreciate it.
Second.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Guzman, seconded by Ms. Johnson. Do I need to reiterate, or do you have it? The resolution that Mr.
I
Guzman?
have it and I can listen to it on here, but I would like a roll call for this.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Okay, so let's do a roll call.
Mrs. Serna?
Yes.
Mr. Coletta?
Yes.
Ms. Quadrado?
Yes.
Mr. Guzman?
Yeah, I say we start here, and sounds like our administration has a lot of work to do. And together, I feel we're gonna get through this. My personal opinion. My vote is yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Maxwell?
Yes.
And Mrs. Zissou?
Yes, and thank you, Mr. Guzman, for that proposal. Anything else for new and old business?
Yeah, so I want to bring up, I got a request from a community member for use of facilities, and the application said either after school or on a weekend, like morning between 10 and 2 o'clock. I know the after school for spring is going to be impossible because our girls use that field, and then there's no lights, so once it's dark, there's no baseball. So it would likely be for just the weekend. And I think that the application showed that there's expected between, I think it was 100, 200 students. So something like that, we'd probably, if we said yes to this, we'd have to get a custodian to open the door, and 200 people leave garbage, you need to clean it up. So if you guys do look to move forward, that's how I would recommend charging at least the custodial fee. But I just want to bring this to your attention and have the board direct me as to what you want to do.
Actually, I just wanted to ask if would that be an instance where we can make funds for the school by renting out the property?
You could choose to. So we have one community organization, a soccer team, a soccer club, and I believe we don't charge them for the use of facility one day after, it's one day a week, they go to the gym and they practice. I think that, if it's probably wise for this board to look to make it uniform where you're gonna charge local groups or you're not, or you're gonna create some, whatever kind of pricing plan you want to create.
I have a question
Yeah.
on that. I'm sorry. So the soccer team, is it like contracted where they're gonna, for a certain amount of time, they're gonna be free?
So we allow the soccer team to come to the small gym. I think it's one, I forget which day of the week, but it's one night of the week. Their numbers are significantly smaller, and when the custodians are already here to begin with, so that's why we haven't charged them. But that program seems like it's growing as well. So eventually we probably get to, even though kids were now, like, you're taking custodial work that could have been for the school to, to your program. So it looks like they're trending in that direction. I think that with the baseball thing, if we have that many kids, I would encourage the board to charge at least the fee of the custodial. And if there's any facility usage that this board would look to want to put in, then it's your facility. So, it's how this board wishes to.
I have a question. All right, so when we say use of the field, the baseball field outside, the softball
The one right
field?
over there, yeah, the softball field.
So it's my understanding that HPS students, the Wildcats, they use the rec center field.
The boys do, yes.
So is that field not playable for the HPS? I mean, is it playable to have
So
a team there?
no, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is the row field, is that all dirt infield or is there grass also? Is that
It's grass,
But still, I feel like this is an all dirt. That's why the girls,
just about the
I
same
think the
thing.
girls use it
because
for the
they-
softball and the boys use it.
They usually practice on the pony side. And reason I'm asking is because we already have a high school, HPS team.
Look at the coach back there.
Right, okay, HPS team. And then we also have the rec team.
Mhm.
So what outside program are we talking about? To add another team into the into the Heldon?
It's called the Royals.
Okay.
I know that the application's been dropped off. I don't know enough about the structure of the program. I don't believe, Ms. Serta, you might be able to correct me. I don't believe it's through the rec program, but it's.
No, it's not the rec program because I reached out to find out. So the point is that with two teams already, with the rec team and the HPS team, where would they play? I mean, is it a travel team? It can't be a Heldon team because we have the Heldon Warriors. We have the Wildcats, right?
Ms. Serta, you're on the board of records. You might be able to answer the question.
As
Oh,
far as what?
yeah.
It's his own thing, just like Southside Soccer, it's its own.
So it's a travel thing because it's not a
What do you
Heldon
mean by
thing.
travel?
Travel meaning you get kids from all around, from other towns. Here in
I'm gonna be
Heldon, the Warriors are all Heldon kids,
Right.
Heldon residents, because that's the taxpayers, the Heldon residents. And we had kids that were grandfathered in from Prospect
Mhm.
Park, because the league belongs to the Patterson Old Timers Youth Baseball League, which your kids were part of it, right, back 7 years ago or so. So now we've had two teams, so I mean, I'm just trying to find out, is it representing Heldon? Or is it representing where they're playing at? Is it
I don't believe it's representing.
is it
Heldon.
liable for us to have them use our facility for if they're playing games in other towns?
I don't know if I could speak towards what the
Can we-
liability is, but I know that it'd be that essentially a private group that has, ties to Heldon, but is not representing Heldon, is looking to use a baseball facility for 4 hours.
So the
on Saturday.
kids are from where?
I can't guarantee you that I could tell you where each kid's from.
Can we
Can I
find
ask
out
a
more?
question real quick?
Yeah.
Do we have the space or the time for them to use it?
It would have to be if you guys said yes, it would have to be in a weekend, because we use it between our aftercare and then the girls softball. that field's gonna be used Monday through Friday.
Okay, so if we use it on the weekend, will it require security and plus will it require extra manpower to maintain it clean?
I'd have to open the school, the campus, so that would be at least the hourly rate of the custodian.
And the custodials.
You know, so maybe they should just join Hilton.
If-
That's a possibility.
The email, just what I saw something about it online. It said like a clinic. I don't think it's a travel, I could be wrong. I think it's like a baseball clinic. It was the way I read it was it's more of like a baseball clinic.
The
Well,
way,
I don't know.
right,
I could be 1,000% wrong.
the way I read it,
Yeah, like
is
learn how
the
to play.
kids that are warriors right now and that have been warriors, those are the kids that they're recruiting for the roles. So that'll take the kids from resident, which also makes a confusion for the residents too, because it's not under the Heldon umbrella.
Okay.
Because I looked into that.
So we don't wanna hurt one team to fill another.
But they have their own in Tennessee and they went through the borough. Right, they went through the borough though. I know Southside, because I know when they first started, we had to share. I got a schedule of the field time. Actually, when Lila was playing, that's when Southside started, her daughter. That's when
But, you
Southside
know,
started.
Another point is that we don't have a Haledon soccer team. We have a school soccer team, HPS, but we don't have a Haledon soccer team.
And the Heldon Warriors have been there before my time, from what I understand.
Can I make a suggestion? Can we make a uniform policy going forward on how we
Yes,
do this? Like, this way, we're not here until 11 o'clock tonight. Just going forward, make a uniform policy on how to go about renting out the field and who gets charged and what doesn't get charged, because there are certain situations where while yes, there is budget, you have to be cognizant, like you said. You have to, there's sometimes where you don't need to charge people. We're here anyway, but.
Madam President?
Yeah.
So this is my personal opinion. Again, I'm a uniter, not a divider. I'm all about shared services. So let's say I feel there should be one team for the Borough of Haledon, one team. And if another organization wants to run clinics and things like that, I'm full, complete support. If there's any issues amongst coaches, I think what needs to happen, they need to get into a room, they need to settle it like grown men and women, and then we'll move forward for the best interest of our entire school, instead of dividing children's are part of this team or that team.
Right, that's what, yeah.
You know,
Try to
what are we
avoid that.
doing? We need to lead by example. You know, we need to lead by example. And that's what I firmly believe in. I would love to see, I think that this concept, I think, is done in good faith. I think folks' hearts are in the right place. I get it, but I feel that they need to get in a room. These coaches, they need to figure it out. That's just my personal opinion. And don't put the Haledon Public School District
in the middle of it.
You know, they need to figure it out. If anybody wants to run clinics, Southside Soccer, that's a for-profit organization. That's completely different. And I agree with Mr. Coletta. I think we should have a uniform policy that if a for-profit organization is using our facilities, it should be charged. As a matter of fact, I think we should kick that to our legal. I think honestly, under law, we must charge it.
Yeah, I think if we have to incur an expense, we should definitely.
Make something.
So
out of it.
maybe it's actually a good thing that this came up, because maybe we can draw something like Mr. Coletta suggested, perhaps a uniform policy for our district, and it will encourage our coaches to work together and figure out their differences and move forward. You know, that's just my personal opinion. I think with a simple conversation, they can definitely figure it out. You guys should definitely figure it out, Carlos, because it shouldn't come to this.
No,
It shouldn't come to
It
this.
should, I'm sorry, is this,
Why
is
is-
the application for the facility use this detailed?
It was like a 2-page document.
Okay, so it's just to use the facility, right? It's not like who's using it, like,
Well,
Like,
it's
are we
the,
looking at recruitments and are we just looking
But
to
it
say
all,
yes or
it
no?
all boils down to what it is. Sana.
it's
You
your,
know that.
it's the Haledon Public Schools
I don't know.
facility, and the board's gonna decide if they wanna move forward with using this facility for this purpose, for this group. That's, I guess what the question is here.
So, and it's not an agenda item, so we're just discussing it tonight. So,
Go figure it out another time.
well, it's not that, well, I don't want to just kick it down the road. I mean, I think we should decide whether we want to put this on and make it an agenda item for the next meeting.
I don't know, Madam President, I don't know if I might be wrong, but if someone formally requested, I think it should be put on the agenda. And if they went through the process to formally request, the formal decision should be made. You know, so for whatever the next
Okay.
meeting or whatever, I think everybody would want that if they went through the process, so.
I just want to piggyback off of him too, if it is brought up in the next agenda, maybe we should have more information on them. Like, some of the questions that were asked.
Yeah, Madam President, and hopefully between now and the next meeting, all these coaches can get into a room and they can figure it out. Yeah, I'm gonna keep saying that, keep saying that, sure.
Okay, I agree. I mean, just out of a courtesy, we should put it on the agenda for an upcoming meeting, and then we can vote, we hopefully will have more information. And then we'll vote everyone will vote as they see fit. I guess I'll make that request to put it on the next agenda.
I can reach out to the organizer and ask for more information. I can't control how much we get back, but whatever is shared, that'll be shared.
But again, my question is still the same. So if we can lease out that field, why are we playing on a Rose Street field?
Why do the boys play their games on Rose Street? I don't know. I think that's been happening since
Right,
way
no,
before
I know.
I got here. I don't know the genesis of why
So
the boys
you're
play there.
saying that this group can play on Rose Street?
Well, I mean, if they go through the borough, yeah, everything is through the borough. Nothing is me. I'm just a commissioner on the Board of Education here. However, my coaching, that's something separate. So, but right now, it's just a matter of because those are the questions that are being somewhat asked. If we can play here, why can't we?
So, not yet.
I think we need to come up with a long-term plan for athletics in our town. It's
Yeah.
very simple. The school district takes care of the young kids, the borough takes care of the older kids. It's very simple. And one uniform way, and we may have some kids that go on to be the next Michael Jordan or the next Tom Brady or whatever. We don't need to, I don't think we need division. I think coaches need to get in a room, who's the head coach, who's the assistant coach, so on and so forth. There's multiple different teams. There's pony, there's midget, what is the other term?
No, but that's the Warriors,
Come on,
though.
you
I
guys
don't know
can't
about
give
the
it a
Royals. It's the Warriors. I don't know about the Royals. I know what we've done before. And that's done 25 plus years ago. I didn't start it here. So that's already been going on.
That's just my personal.
No.
Listen, let's put it on the agenda, okay? And then let's try to get more, if we can get more information.
Okay. go ahead.
And then,
Yeah, we can't vote on it now anyway.
we'll go from there. Okay?
Ms. Johnson?
You guys are saying?
No, I was saying, instead of just adding it to the agenda, can we table it and have a conversation that, like,
Outside,
yes,
executive session?
yes, I
Yeah, we
mean,
can
this
always
right
do
here
it.
has been.
Well,
You can't have more than 5 board members.
There's no, it's not on the agenda, so it's nothing to table now.
Yeah.
We're just
Okay,
talking about,
okay.
We would, I mean, we would put it on the agenda for the next meeting, and then if conversations, not with a quorum, want to happen between now and the next meeting,
Can
then.
I make a suggestion? Can we kick this to the extracurricular committee? Let them vet this, let them talk to these coaches, let them talk to the chair of recreation over there and come to us with, with a plan or suggestion or something. So we can.
So I believe that's Ms. Quadrado, right?
So we
Okay.
do we need to get Mr. Sposato involved for mediation? Like what do we need to do?
So,
I just
no,
wanna see it.
I mean, this, is,
You guys vote no and I vote yes. I just want to see it. I want to know you know how to do it, please.
yeah. So, it is appropriate for the community engagement. So, Ms. Quadrado, if you could, maybe Mr. Walker, if you
I can
could
get you
get
the
some information.
I'll do my best to get you the information. I'll get you the contact information of the gentleman.
it.
All right, then.
Yeah.
And then, hash it out with your committee members and then come to the board with a recommendation and then we'll vote on it and it'll be an agenda item.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, great. All right.
Motion to open up the public.
Second.
Okay, so, wait, but was there anything else for new and old business? No, not
No.
public yet, not public yet. Is there anything else for new and old business?
I just have a question again, Lamika. I'm so sorry to bother you again with this, but I'm just wondering about the electronic payment for certified angels and after-school programs.
So I did talk to the administrators. They like the way things are right now, but we're looking to do something different because of the tracking of the invoices and stuff. They just weren't ready for it right now, okay? We do have the Pay Schools program. We're just trying to figure out what's the best method for it, okay?
Thank you.
Mhm.
I have something that I wanted to discuss with Mr. Walker and the board. I want to open up a discussion about communication. There are a lot of events that happen in HPS and a lot of people are not aware. I don't feel like a lot of things that we have, like the middle school dance and the things that we have planned for tomorrow in this library, as well as the dinner and a show, are being issued to the parents where they actually know, so that they can actually come out and be with the community. So I would like to get some type of improvement when it comes to that.
So just as you were speaking, I was just thinking of a few venues that we have already. We have Hailed and Happenings, we have the Facebook posts that you usually do weekly. Can parents listen to the morning announcements? Because I know like weekend, so anybody can listen to morning announcements. Okay. Do you have any other suggestions of how
There's
else?
robocall, there's mass emails we use.
For like events though, so like robocalls are more for like not emergencies, but things that come up.
The Hailed and
like-
Happening is an important document, and that's
Mhm.
being snail mailed to every house, and that's gonna have all our important stuff.
Mhm.
I have a suggestion. So like my calendar syncs up with the school calendar. So every time that I look at my phone, I see that there's a PTA meeting or a game or something. Is it possible to add the events to the school calendar?
Our events should be on our school calendar. Like the
On the,
calendar,
on the website?
when we say
Well,
calendar, like
When-
go by the
no,
calendar
I
on my
mean,
phone.
like these events, like here, PTA, HPS.
Oh,
board
the one on the
event.
website.
Yeah. So like automatically that comes on my phone because I synced it. So maybe we can add the events
You know
here
what?
so that we can.
That's a good
So we
idea.
have, because the word calendars, we have a bunch of calendars that, we use. I think maybe Bill, we could talk about this, but if it's possible to find a way to sync the
Yeah.
activities to that part of the website, that if we can do that, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Because then we have like the website, then we have social media, then we have hard copies of Hailed and Happenings going home. We have the morning announcements that people can listen in on. So and then if there are any other suggestions, by all means.
The morning school announcements gets about 40 views a day. It's not very successful.
The
So
which?
Every single one of our students watches it.
it's about 40 views.
Yeah, but like,
I know the
there's a
kids
class full
watch
of
it.
kids, yeah.
I'm talking about the parents.
We gotta get the
knowing
parents
what's
to
going
watch
on.
it then.
Yeah.
They gotta be involved.
We need to find a better way to communicate to the parents.
Or maybe we can add that like a flyer or
Madam
something,
President.
just to remind them.
I agree with Ms. Serna. Sometimes I do hear like, oh, I didn't know about this, I didn't know about that. Sometimes you do hear that. And I guess things do fall through the cracks. Maybe with the social media, Mr. Walker, do you have assistance with that? Obviously, you have a lot of students, there's a lot going on in our school district. Do you have somebody that could
So
back you up with
social media, that's a lot of times, if something from the borough comes, I'll either get a text or I'll get an email, and they'll ask me to put something up. If teachers or staff ask me to put something up, I approve it, I'll look to put it up there. I like the idea you had about the calendar being synced on the website. The purpose of the morning announcements is for the students, and it's successful. Now, if the advocacy is going to be to kind of promote this so all the parents can get on some kind of email subscribe list, or not a paid subscription, but some kind of email list where they get the morning announcements delivered to them via email. That's something we could look at. But yeah, that's the real purpose of the morning announcements.
I believe last year we spoke about something similar where parents were complaining that they weren't receiving the emails, and that was because they had it on spam or they had it blocked.
There was something with a
themselves.
user setting in certain phones, yeah.
Right, so it's not that we're not sharing their information, it's that maybe a lot of them have certain settings put up on there and that's why they're not receiving them.
Well, I mean, we're always open to suggestions, so if anybody has any other, I think we have, the calendar suggestion was a great suggestion. We have several different venues that, you know, that the district communicates with, but any, you know, open to suggestions, so if anybody has any suggestions, additional, you know, let you share them, and if not tonight, if you think of it later, you know, we can share it at a future meeting or via email, you know.
It's a YouTube channel, basically, the morning announcement. Why not send out an alert to have people subscribe to it? That way they get their alert on their phone.
They do crossword this.
Yeah,
So I'm sorry, what you said?
like just an alert for the parents, subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Did we do that?
I know it's done,
Yeah,
but it
so,
seems like it needs to be
You
reminded.
know,
When we first started doing that.
Yeah. I guess we can send it out again
Yeah,
and
reminders.
hopefully people will want to be part of it.
Just so I don't miss it.
Madam
Yep.
President,
Yep.
One last thing on my end.
Yep.
I know one of the main reasons we pushed for the parent liaison through the federal funds was to handle things like this as well. So is that something, is that a resource that we can?
I can bring it up with her. I know she's done a really good job working with the preschool and the kindergarten registration for next year and kind of walking parents through like every step. And it is a kind of tough process, especially if it's your first kid in the public school system. You know, I can ask her how to help promote, you know, I think it's aggressive of the district to, you know, we look to make these morning announcements as, we know it's a middle school and elementary school, but we try and make them look as nice as possible. And I know Ms. Pepin works really hard on that. We try and we sent the email, I guess, last year at some point saying, hey, every parent, you know, click on this so you can see exactly what's going on every day. You know, I've been at board meetings where I've had, you know, board president Guzman say to me, I'm getting too many complaints about too many robocalls coming out, right?
Yeah, I know.
So like,
But maybe you're not doing enough anymore. Walk
I
up.
don't know if we get a plane, like you get in the beach where they gives you like the, you know, with restaurants on sale, but we keep trying and we see that, you know, certain events kind of have a better turnout, like when we do the kindergarten graduation, everyone's gonna be there. If we do the winter concert, like that place is gonna be packed. If we go, you come to a soccer game after school, you'll see a handful of parents that'll be there, but the away team usually has more parents. It's, you know, this is just kind of what we want to look to improve and promote as much as we can. I think we've tried a whole bunch of different vehicles ways to do that. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I think it's true about the calendar on the website. Definitely, once that thing gets filled with all our special events, that's going to be great. But also, can we create a tab on the website, like for, I don't know, a Hailden Happenings tab? I know that you can get to it somehow, but maybe make it easier to see upon.
She said the same documents that you'd get in the mail, you know, put a tab that says, here's this month's tablet, here's a neat copy of it.
Yeah, it used to be called like the backpack something, like a electronic backpack or something.
Yeah.
And that had basically all the things that was in Hailden Happenings.
On the front, it says digital backpack, it's still there.
A digital backpack, that was it, yeah.
So maybe we'll look to promote that more.
Yeah, maybe it's just a matter of like reminding people that these things are out there and that these are active venues of communication where they can find out what's going on. Go ahead,
Just a suggestion about the digital backpack. So in order to find it, you have to go through one tab to go down and then look. Is there a way maybe we can have it like a banner or something on top? Click here for digital backpack.
If there is,
Let me
let me look at that specific question.
Gentlemen that are.
Okay, are we good?
Yep.
Are we good
I
with?
just have another thing too. We are approving a lot of snacks and food that's in the school. I wanted to see if we can possibly go into that food policy where we can start bringing back food into the school as far as parents and birthday parties and stuff like that goes. I don't see why we have to purchase a chip for double the cost by doing it through the cafeteria instead of just
The chips.
So
the chips or the cookies or the juices or whatever that for any type of like birthday party or
Celebration.
Valentine's Day or whatever it is that the school has. So I wanted to see if we can start.
So I
bringing it
think,
back.
and Jen, if you could kind of illuminate us a little further, you know, we're part of the National School Lunch Program and our kids get 100% free breakfast and snack and lunch. When we buy this extra snacks for the kids from the cafeteria, that's, those snacks that they sell are gonna meet all the regulations of whatever's in
Requirements.
there for the National School Lunch. As far as, I couldn't just go to ShopRite and get, frozen yogurt ice cream because there's some kind of allergen in that, and, we're given that and then a kid gets sick, and we have as many kids as we do, eventually that'll happen. But Janet, can you walk us through what our options are with that?
So, I mean, I can tell you what I know sort of off the cuff, and we'll need to look into it further if there are additional questions. Just as you've already said, there are sort of minimum requirements with respect to being a part of that program. So with that, any food that's served needs to meet those minimum requirements. So it makes it difficult to bring food in from, say, another source when it's not getting, sort of vetted through that process. Whether there is a way to do that, we would have to check for you. That I couldn't speak to right now.
Can I ask a question, Madam President?
Yep.
And that's even for if student is, because the thing is, the school is, while it's being served at school, if it's being brought in by a parent, paid for by a parent, and given out by the kids, it's only being touched by the teacher distributing it. Would that not be something that potentially could be a loophole where the school's not actually serving it as a school we're talking about cupcakes at kids' birthdays. It's really not.
So
They still do it at other schools. Here. My daughter's
it could potentially be a loophole. What I'm saying is I couldn't speak to that in this moment as to whether it is.
Okay, I mean, if that's something that you can look into, or Mr. Molino could look into. I know that one of the reasons why the school moved away from like the birthday celebrations was because it was taking away a lot of instruction time.
Well, it was also too, like, when a parent brings in muffins or cupcakes, right? If they baked it at home, I won't know. We can't be sure what ingredients are in there. And it's not like every parent signs off in a waiver saying, I agree that I'll allow my child to have cupcakes brought by some other kid's parent. Like that's not something that, a parent would say yes or no to. I think when we were kids, it's your birthday, your mom or dad gets you muffins or cupcakes and you bring it in and that's that. But, the method we're doing now is a way to, still get the kids something, but, abide by a procedure that allows for every kid to get free lunch and free breakfast and free snack. Yeah,
of course, we were gonna do whatever, we have to, whatever law we have to abide by and having the free breakfast and lunch. Maybe if we were able to work it out, maybe not birthdays, because that does become like a time constraint, but like the parties, like that the PTA does, they used to be able to send them for like the Halloween party, the December holiday party.
Well, it makes it harder in the district too, because like when, the PTA parents are great and they definitely offer a huge service. But like, certain events, like they want to, give the kids, I'm not going to look to search and I'm not going to look to pat down every PTA parent that comes in and say, are you hiding this, are you hiding that? But we know some gets by. I think the district right now wants to be in a position where we've made reasonable efforts to make sure that we abide by the National School Lunch Program's mandates, because it's a high priority to get every kid free breakfast, lunch, and snack. If there's a workaround, I'm not opposed to it. It would save me from having to do 6 birthday parties tomorrow, read books and sing songs.
Would you like doing that?
I do like that, but I sweat. But yeah, that's where we're at.
Okay, all right, understood. Okay, anything else for new and old business? Okay. Can I have a motion to open the floor to citizens? Okay, so moved by Mr. Coletta, seconded by Mr. Martinez, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I see we have a few guests here. If whoever would like to address the board, please state your name and your address. You have 3 minutes. And then the board will address any comments if they choose after everybody has spoken. Okay.
I'm gonna sit on my legs.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm Lauren Ferrer, 34 West Haven Avenue, New Jersey. Mr. Glenn, I'll say no with you, so you have to go about yourself, okay? So there's a lot of things going on in my head that just transpired. I'm not understanding why snacks are given for birthday parties. Because that's a lot of money. When you're getting snacks, I'm thinking, because I'm a school teacher, the snacks are for the lunch program, the breakfast program, if you have an after school program. Not understanding why we are buying extra snacks for kids' birthday parties. I don't get that. So that's number one. Number two, Mr. Guzman, I understand, you know, you were talking about the coach thing. I get the coach thing. But what I'm suggesting is that you put the item on the agenda, but that person needs to be here to discuss his or her program. Not to have something emailed and having Mr. Watcha sit here and talk about something that he has no idea, you know, what the person's program is about. If they want the program here in Hampton, that person needs to be here in public portion at that time when that agenda item comes up, and they need to speak about it. So this way you guys can vote on the issue the right way. Okay, so that's the second thing. Number three, Mr. Watcha, I get that, you know, because I'm a school teacher, and when it comes to the kids, we want all programs to stay. It would help for me though, as a Hilton resident, to see what every program is, how much the programs cost, who is has positions that are using ESSER funds, how much does that cost? So put that to another, you know, line item, so we can break down the positions of the ESSER funds. Because when these federal dollars go away, they're not gonna have a job. And, you know, that's not gonna be a layoff per se from us. It's just gonna go away, you know? So we need to know who that's going to affect. The other thing is, if Title I goes away, right, that's gonna be a big blow. That's breakfast, lunch programs, the federal grants that we have. So again, it would behoove us to break down and say, what are these line items? Who are these teachers? You don't have to name the teachers' names. You can put initials and say what their salaries are. So we can have a breakdown of how much we're spending in salaries, how much we're spending for, well, federal funds for food, and those ESSER funds that I was talking about. Because no one wants to.
Wrap it up, Ms. Ferrer.
I will.
She still has time.
There's nobody here, but I know you wanna go home. No one wants to get rid of anyone. Everybody had a valid point here. So, you know, Mr. Guzman, Mr. Coletta, I heard from Ms. Serna, and of course, my coach Carlos, okay? Everybody has a valid point. But we have to think about how we are really going to look at a budget. I can't figure this out without knowing numbers. I'm a numbers person. I need to see them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charles Frum, I'm gonna be real quick.
Okay.
So, Haledon resident. So I commend the BA for putting this budget together. The thing that I'm disappointed in that process is that she's required by a certain date to submit that to the county and to the state, when the federal numbers, if they come, won't come until July, August, something like that, which makes really no sense, because that's not how you should be doing the budget. And I don't know why our elected officials on the state level haven't had conversations with our federal elected officials to change that process. Because it's like you're making a wish for things, and then, oh, by the way, it's not coming. Okay, then what? Now you put everybody in a position. So the other thing, I'm hearing everybody, and I'm glad you're thinking, okay, we didn't raise taxes, stuff like that. I'm a Patterson guy first. Patterson used to kick the can down the road every year. And for maybe 10 years, we stayed at 36 million. Okay? Right now, Patterson's at 70-some million when they should be over 100 million, like Jersey City and Newark. And that's why Patterson right now is facing 100+ deficit that they have to try to close. So my son never went to school in Hilton, but I paid taxes for the children to go to school in Hilton. As some lady said to me years ago, well, I don't see why I have to pay for school tax. I don't have any children in the school system. And I said to her, ma'am, when you were going to school, people didn't have children either, but they wanted to make sure that the students became productive citizens in that school system. And she's like, oh, okay, I understand that. Now I don't have a problem. I hear you're having a school baseball team, softball, baseball, I don't know. I don't know how you're getting your funding, but as someone that's part of NJEA in your school district staff as well, it used to be called Pride, now it's called PEP. There's a FAST program where there's funding based on the amount of staff that you have, where they could write you a grant. I sponsor football team, boys and girls, baseball in Patterson, boys and girls. And the way that they made it for me made it a lot easier. I used to have to do all this craziness. I can write a check to each team as a sponsor for $2,500. Okay, so talk with whoever is your president or of the union here, and let them reach out to. They should know something about it to see if they can get some kind of money. It might be different, but I'm pretty sure it's still about $2,500 based on what they have. The other thing is we have to become creative.
Wrap it up,
I'm
Mr.
going to
Ferrer.
do that. When my son went to St. Anthony's in Hawthorne, every year we have the feast, and we did many things. We raised tons of money. You're having your tricky tray at the tide. I'll be there. But the thing that I learned best in St. Anthony's is one year they had their tricky tray in the gym. I didn't think it was going to work. Everybody bought their own food, everything. They walked out of there with all kinds of gifts. The wife telling, honey, bring the pickup truck. Okay. They raised money without going to a venue, and I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought maybe 10 people. The place was packed. They had it in their gym. So that's another option where you're taking away that overhead and things like that. And people had their tables with their candelabras, all that stuff done up for themselves and their friend. So we can get creative, and you might want to think, I don't know how the town carnival and the police carnival work, but if that's another option, because St. Anthony's did that too, and it was the parishioners and the parents that did the food concessions, ran the games, the money stayed and went to the school. So there's a lot of ways. 600,000, I wish we only had that problem in Patterson. You know, but you're right, and I've gone to Trenton many times. I'm planning to go to NJIT to speak for school buildings, the SDA, before the assembly. And because I don't want to drive to Trenton. I think that's the Senate one in Newark, and the Trenton is for the other. I don't want to go down there. But you can do these things, and we've done that. We've loaded up buses. So Commissioner Guzman is aware that get your parents, and you go down there and says, look, we need this money. Okay, you have to do it. Maybe you won't get all, but maybe you'll get some. Maybe they'll give you half, and then maybe you can find a way to raise the other half, and then you're good. But that's all I really want to say.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrer.
You know.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, and I do want to say something about the calendar, right? Because we are Halen residents and we don't have kids, our kids grow up. The only way I found out about the tricky tray is because I found out through people on this board, right? I would think that other Halen residents would love to support, right? But it's really hard to find the information when you don't belong to the school. So we have to fix that part too.
Yeah, I think the calendar was a great idea, and I think that, you know, that would, well, even if you don't sync it with your calendar on your phone,
But we
if
don't
it's
have
on,
kids in the school.
if it's on the school's website, then anyone can see it. So, but let's hear the public, you know, before we start addressing things. Mr. H, you've been here.
Yes. Thank you. Hackworth, baseball coach of the Wildcats. So to clarify the issue of why we have to use the Grove Street field for baseball, it's a safety spaces scheduling issue. What we have here is a great softball field. They put down brand new dirt last year. That's great for the girls. It cannot be converted to a baseball field for the boys because it's far too small. And basically the size of it, especially with the fencing, once again, too small for baseball. Today was day one of tryouts, day 1 of 4 for the season. If we use that field, all of the windows that we have for the new wing would have been blown out by baseballs because that's where they're hitting. They're hitting left field. And all those windows would be broken. There'd be baseballs on the road. And there'd be a lot of baseballs in yards, right? Grove Street is perfect for us. Got high fencing. They have nets up there, plenty of space. Even with Grove Street, we do have baseball players that hit the ball all the way to the far fence. So it works out very well for us. And we're very grateful for the town for allowing us to use that. And another issue is the scheduling. We got 2 teams. Last year, they're both highly successful. And we can't practice on, one field. We did trials last year at one field, but now, thankfully, the town opened up Grove Street to us early, so we have to have genuine trials for baseball. Awesome, thank you again. But once again, between the building and where the batter's box, we also have after-school program with the playground. We have basketball court. Kids are out there. We do have people watching them. But as closely as they can watch them, baseball travel faster than humans can move. So we don't want anything to happen there. So we made a decision to use Road Field and give us the genuine baseball field, a great one that we're very thankful for. We appreciate it. So that's why we use Grove Street, and once again, very appreciative.
Thanks for clarifying.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address the board?
Yeah, me.
Okay, state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes.
I'm Christian Tate. I'm the owner of Royals Baseball Softball.
Your address, please?
I'm Christian Tate. I'm the owner of Royals Softball Baseball.
Chris, just wants to know your address.
Your address.
Oh, 45 Zabriskie Street. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So I'm giving girls sport and healthing. They only have cheerleading. So me doing this, it would be a T-ball coach pitch softball for 4 to 12 years old and baseball 4 to 14. We're kind of building off what we did last year. I have over 20 coaches. We're in the Wayne League this year instead of Patterson. Why Wayne? Because it's safer and better for the kids. Better opportunity for my kids too. They even showed me tournaments where I could put my kids to showcase in front of high schools like Don Bosco, DePaul, and schools like that. I'm all about doing what's best for my kids. That's always the image. That's the reason why we expanded and we're going to Wayne and we're going to play for Royals. I'm also giving girls a sport. The only thing they haven't held in is cheerleading or Southside soccer. So it's opening more doors for our girls. I also have a coaching staff for them as well. And any questions you guys had, because I was watching over on the screen, you guys can ask me. But yeah, what we're doing is something new. But same staff. A lot of the kids that we're getting, I heard Carlos say, yes. We got a lot of the kids from our championship team going forward. Practically all the coaches from the Warriors, we all left and we're all going to the Warriors. I'm just being truthful right now. I got other facilities. The reason why we want to use health and public facilities because we are getting a lot of kids from health and public, especially in the younger ages. From that 4 to 8 range, they don't really have much going on in here, especially in health and public. Health don't really have much sports going on in general. The only sport they have that's associated to them was baseball. And now I'm giving health and softball and more girls opportunities and things like that. So it's like that's really what the goal was here. And we're just expanding. I'm just doing what's best for the kids. I came to health and public. I went to Manchester. I walked these same streets. I came these same hallways. I was a prefect here. I was a 3-sport athlete here. They don't have a foundation for baseball here, really, or softball. There's nothing going on for them. I mean, most of the kids he gets is usually the 7th and 8th graders, but there's nothing underneath that actually builds up and going up. We won a championship last year, and I was the one running the program last year. I called all the shots. We made adjustments and everything, and yeah, we won the championship. That's the truth. And now we're leaving to go with the Royals. And I'm just doing what's best for the kids. I'm not really with the politics and things like that. I'm just doing what's best for my kids. And that's really the conclusion to it. So if you guys have any questions, concerns, yeah. I have over 20 coaches. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tejada, right?
Yeah,
okay, wait, let's close out the floor. let's close the floor and
Motion to
then we
close?
can ask,
So moved. Second.
that's everybody, right?
Yep.
Okay, moved by,
Online?
oh, was there anybody online who had, okay. Okay, so moved by Mr.
Sorry.
Guzman, seconded by Mr. Martinez, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well, I'll just address a few things first, and then, you know, Mr. Walker, Ms. Augustine, if you want to jump in. So, Ms. Ferrara, regarding the budget and the detailed budgets, so I was looking through here, what Ms. Augustine present, now, this is not detailed, like drilling down to, you know, specific teachers' names, but there's a lot of detail on here. You know, I don't know if that's something that you would.
It's tentative, so that's why it's not public, the way, we don't want, and it has personnel stuff on there, so we don't wanna send it out too quickly, until we know it's approved by the county. So once it's approved by the county, our public hearing is in April, then we can talk more detail on that. So right now, this is just a tentative budget, that's what we're approving until it goes through the county BA scrutiny and the executive superintendent, you know, review. And then we can talk a little bit more granular, but we did get through to the granular part with the finance team yesterday. We went page by page. They asked a lot of questions and, you know, we talked about the tax levy, we talked about bank cap. And, you know, that's the way this board is made up through committee. So we went through the committee first and we're bringing it to the, table to be voted on.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So do you
Thank
share
you.
to come to the meeting? 1 minute? I just wanted to just clarify what you were just saying. So when the real budget comes in, right? And I know there's personnel stuff and we normally put initials and we put salaries or whatever. Moving forward, if something has to be cut, there'll be more of a detail so I can see what was ESSER fund, what came from ESSER funds, what the salaries are, what the other funding from the state, federal. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, and I can tell you, I think I mentioned it earlier, there's at least 4 salaries that are in Title I right now. And then we have our after-school programs, which is in Title I. And then we have about 6 salaries in preschool right now. The $600,000 I mentioned, and we have about $370,000 in Title I.
But the programs weren't, I don't know how much the programs are. So for instance, let's say there's a computer program that the kids are using that right now we could cut from because we don't need that program because we have to cut funding. So maybe that's $100,000, let's say. But I don't see that. That's the stuff that I want to see.
Yeah, so I think I also mentioned that we have in Title Fund, the after-school program, detention. And it was detention after-school program, and it was another program, I think, even some of the Title Makerspace programs are under Title IV. So those are the programs that are now being covered by those, that we will only have to cut those particular programs only if federal funds are cut.
Correct.
But right now, we're good because traditionally, they give you about 80% of what you had from the previous year, and that's what I budgeted for. So I'm hopeful and confident that they will at least give me the 80%, and that's what I budgeted for. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and to your point, 1 second, to your point about the person who is putting forth the facilities request that they should be here, well, he's here, so.
He just popped up.
Yeah, so go ahead, Mr. Clay.
I would like to make a request, if that's possible, going forward, like an actual line item budget, because again, like I said, she makes a great point. This is the 3rd budget that I'm voting on, and we're voting on a $27 million budget. And after 2 years in a row, I've asked what has looked at being cut, and there's nothing. And if an average person without a financial degree looks at this, this is meaningless. It's a $27 million budget, and it's not through any fault of the business. She's amazing, does a great job. Like, there's a lot of information, but like to the resident's point, I can't go through here and look at certain things. Like there's a general breakdown, but you're asking people to vote on a $27 or $37 million budget. And I doubt anyone in here was able to read through all this and know exactly what they're voting on. And what could be cut. And again, like I'd just like to reiterate, it's unacceptable that my question was, what has been looked at to be cut in 2 years? And the answer was a non-answer.
Well,
From and not
I
so
could
much
ask-
from the business administrator, but that's more directed at, because I do ask a lot of questions. And it seems like when the answer is not what you think I want to hear, I don't get the answer.
But to that point, I want to reiterate what I said. You know, what are we cutting that will have an impact?
It might have to be teachers.
Yeah.
It might have to
You
be.
know, but we're not at that point yet.
But you
and I-
are,
and
because
we
you're
are.
asking for more money. You're at a point
But
where you're
that's
asking
how-
for money on a hope and a prayer that the rest of the funding doesn't get cut. The federal government tomorrow can say, you get nothing. And all the begging and pleading that we can do and all the well-spirited letters doesn't mean anything. It's a request. You are asking for something that they can go, no. Even with our friends in the state, our stuff got cut. And everyone here knows that the people in our district, in the 35th district, are friendly to Haledon. They're not, we have no opposition. There's no bad blood between Senator Wimberly, the assembly people. They like Haledon. We have a great relationship. It still got cut the maximum. North Haledon got an increase and we got cut. That should tell you should be concerned.
So
And last year was flat, so it wasn't cut, but it was flat. So the trend is negative.
That's all understood. But are we really saying that we want to cut salaries
You may have to.
for this budget?
You may have to.
If we do the 2% tax levy, we don't have to cut any budget. We don't have to cut any personnel.
But do you think the people in this town want to spend extra money? They don't. None of the people that live in town want to spend extra money to say they don't. If you ask the average person, when they're alone, if it's a 2% increase or somebody you don't personally know that doesn't personally affect you, they're going to tell you. When I was getting laid off from the city of Patterson, I had my union people look me in the face and say, kid, you're better off getting laid off because we're not going to give up $1 to save somebody's job. That is the actual true sentiment of most people. If it doesn't affect them directly, they do not care. If you ask the people that voted us in, you really think that people are like, oh yeah, it's only 2%. No, nobody that owns a home in Haledon that pays taxes is like, it's only 2%. People are sick of it. It only goes up. And our grades only beat Patterson and Passaic.
So
$37 million a year, we're a bottom district.
So it is a fact that public education is funded through property taxes. It's state funding, it's federal funding, and it's property taxes. I mean, it's a fact. I mean, no, nobody wants to pay taxes, but it's a fact. That's how public schools are funded as part of the, funding. So, 2% tax levy, no, 0 would be better. Of course, 0 would be better, but 2% is manageable and it will allow us to keep all the jobs. And maybe at some point we are gonna have to cut jobs, but this year we don't have to do that if we raise the tax levy 2%.
An audit would be clearer. An audit would be clearer to figure out.
We could do this to put this in, maybe a different perspective. The federal government gives us $5.3 million for ESSER, for COVID. And each of the 5 years before that, the state of New Jersey is giving us almost an additional $1 million each year. Of course, I'm not looking to cut, I'm looking to grow, right? Like that's what I'm looking to grow. Now, a week or two ago, I get notice, hey, we're gonna have to, reduce we're gonna get a $680,000 reduction. Now, it's not like I could have said, well, 2 or 3 years ago, let's just be real cautious because we've already maxed out the maximum amount where we could give into reserves. You can't just put as much money into reserves as you want. There's a maximum, the max you can do. So why would I look to cut until 2 weeks ago when I found out, hey, we're gonna be down 680,000. So now in the back of my head, I've always had a plan. If we had to trim this much, we had to trim this much, here's what I would do. You want me to announce it now? I'm not going to do that because there might be people watching this that now all of a sudden they're going to think that their job might be be lost. I think that it looks very, very, very likely that we're going to be able to, with a 2% salary cap, with a 2% property tax raise, still be able to offer all the useful services that we have. And if we get another year where state aid is lower, well, then, then I'm going to have to be much more aggressive with what I look to cut.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Cooper.
All I'm asking the board to do is, can we have a little bit of faith in our administration? Give them an opportunity to do what they gotta do and come back to us. And then everything you said, I completely agree with Mike. Give them an opportunity though. Let them go do what they gotta do. Let them come back to the board, through finance committee, up to the board. Then we take it from there. Let's at least give them an opportunity. We haven't even given them a chance to come to us with anything, any long-term, nothing. We just got the state aid numbers. Let them do
What am
they
I
gotta
coming
do.
back to you with? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Okay,
because-
you're, exactly. So the superintendent, obviously, this is my recommendation personally. The board, several board members, I think all of us are concerned about the future of our district, it appears, right? So Mr. Coletta, Mr. Cerna, they want to know, what is the plan? Where can we come? Well, I guess they want to hear from the administration. Should it come to that point, this is what I'm looking to do, and this is why. So my thing is, let's give the administration a chance to go to the drawing board. This is our plan moving forward. And we take it from there.
So
I think
Mr.
we're getting ahead of ourselves,
we-
not ahead of ourselves in planning, but ahead of ourselves is, in terms of, pointing fingers. I think that's very premature right now.
So let me just make sure, you want Mr. Walker and I to do, not, I guess you're saying order, but just like a look at the scheduling or the teachers to see if we're maximizing
Sure.
everyone's position,
Yes.
right?
Mr. Guzman,
And then
for this
that's the
budget
first one.
or for
Right now,
next?
Effective
correct?
immediately.
All right, so that's number one. And number two, you want us to look at all the programs that we have going to make sure we can fund those, or do we need to continue to fund them? I think we did say that we were gonna prioritize anything that is academic, and anything that's non-academic, we may look at those. I think that's what you're asking. So
Yes,
those are the two
that's
areas.
exactly what I'm
Okay,
asking.
all right.
And I have confidence in both of you.
Maximizing.
We hired both of you.
I'm confident in what I present.
100%.
Okay,
I'm
so I
confident
can
in
tell
you
you
too.
that right now. I'm
Like-
very confident, and to your answer, yesterday I invited every board member to sit down and look at the budget itemized.
Yes.
You guys have a summary right now, because I don't want this public, because it has people's names. But yesterday, the finance team had an itemized list of every person, every item that
Every
was on,
penny.
and every penny that was on this budget. And I stayed till 9 o'clock with Ms. Cerna, and she asked me every question in the book as she
Good for
usually
you,
does.
Mr. Sir.
Okay, so everyone at this board who votes on this budget had the opportunity to look at this budget, okay?
I
Right?
just want to congratulate you, Ms. Augustine.
This
Because you
is
did
what
a
I do.
great
You don't have to
job.
congratulate
No, I read the
me.
numbers yesterday. We went the numbers yesterday and we had some back and forth as for the numbers.
Mhm.
But the fact that you budgeted for the next school year or for this year going forward, with us not being OD hurting financially, it speaks a lot, because yes, is it a concern for the future? Absolutely. Is it a concern today? I don't think so. Not based on the numbers, right? Because we already had it in mind that it was gonna go up anyway, 2%.
Mr. President, I agree with Mr. Coletta. I don't want to vote yes on this 2% at all. I don't. I'm with you. I'm
Me
with you
neither.
100%.
But if we have
I
to-
just want to give, me personally, I just want to see, I have faith in our administration to lead the way and prepare us for the future. And unfortunately, there's a lot of uncertainty there. And the only way to get through it is together. Not pointing fingers, none of that. We got to work together with our teachers, with our residents, with our business owners. We all have to work together. That's the only way. We may have some hard times ahead of us.
Again, it's not a shot at the business administrator. However, I asked this exact question. They were given an opportunity. I asked this exact question last year when I was the only person who voted no. And Mr. Guzman, you didn't even vote. You left prior to the vote. I was the only person that voted no. And I said, in the event that the state aid is cut, where everyone said, oh, it never happened. When I predicted last year, because it was flat, that the state aid would be cut, and it got cut. So what are we gonna look, what is the plan going forward? The plan was, let's just raise everyone's taxes. The truth of the matter is that was just the plan. And it's an unacceptable plan. It's not the business administrator's fault. Ultimately, it's a failure of the board as a whole, and it's failure of the chief superintendent, the chief school.
I respectfully disagree.
That's fine, we're allowed to disagree, but the plan was, in the event it gets cut, we'll just raise taxes to cover the gap. And I didn't even know about the bank cap, where we have a board member that literally said we could raise it 6%. And there's no care in the world, like, oh, some people could lose their house over that. I mean, I'm okay, but there's a lot of, have you seen the demographics of our town? There's a lot of people that can't afford a 2% raise, and the answer of, we'll just raise your taxes is not a real legitimate answer, because in other, as a police department.
So it
no one
sounds
wants
like
to
you
do
have all the answers. So what is your suggestion? Where do you wanna cut?
I wanted to look before the budget came, before it's already voted on to be sent, to see what programs could be looked at to be,
So-
and I wasn't even saying to cut
Mr.
jobs.
Carter, with all due respect, why don't you take a look at the budget and send some suggestions to the superintendent as to what you think?
Fair.
I think that's fair.
But again, I do want to just say, and we talked about this at length last night.
I'm trying to have a job. I can do it.
Cutting programs, cutting
I'm sorry, I have a
programs.
fucking career.
Okay, everybody, cutting programs here and there, that's not gonna have a significant impact. And we did talk about, you know, we didn't cut anything from last year to this year because that was all designated funding, ESSER or Title I, or, you know, so as Ms. Augustin explained in her presentation, yeah, we have to be proactive, yeah, and you know, we are, and we always knew that we were never gonna have that funding forever, you know, that's not like it was a big surprise, or we said that last year, and we said that every year that we had a zero tax levy increase, we said, well, might not be the case next year, of course. I don't think that, you know, well, I don't know, I mean, I think when you're gonna submit this you have to submit it by the 19th, is that right?
Yeah, and I'm submitting it by Friday.
Yeah, and I don't think there's gonna be any major changes to this, right? This is what you're submitting, right?
Yes.
So, you know, but for next year, we can look at how we're going to, you know, how we might deal with, you know, more cuts or the same cut, and start to be proactive now, those strategies that we talked about. And then, yeah, if we have to, yeah, then we would have to look at salaries, you know, but right now, and again, you know, property taxes, that's part of the public school funding, so, you know, that's a reality, so.
If we act now, I mean, I think it's better, because next year it could be worse, and then you're gonna have to potentially lay off even more people, you know?
An audit would, I'm gonna
Just
still
an
stick to
audit
it.
and
Just
see
an
where we're
audit.
at, and then
I'm
go
fine.
from there.
I'll look for some.
Okay.
I'd rather, if we do it, have a private company
Outside
do it.
person.
They're
You
gonna,
know,
they're gonna come back with the
um,
same information that I looked up.
So I had a question, we're still talking about, the comments.
Yeah,
Can we
go
move
ahead,
forward?
yep.
Okay. So if, regarding the baseball, if Heldon won a championship last year, no, who won the championship?
It's a tournament.
It was just a tournament,
4-game
okay,
tournament
and
for
they
the
won it.
COVID, for the coaches
But
of
we
Patterson.
still won it.
Okay.
No, yeah, we won,
Okay,
you
so
know.
now a new team has arisen
Mhm.
that took all the, not all, or most of the teammates that were part of that Heldon team. Where does that leave Heldon?
Well, that's what I wanted to
Going forward.
discuss and question, because
Heldon still has a team, Heldon has a league, I don't know why people are saying Heldon doesn't have a league, but Heldon.
no, not saying that, but,
Somebody did say that, so I'm trying to.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Heldon
so that's
does
why I'm just
have-
asking, what happens to Heldon?
Heldon does. have-
Well,
Go ahead.
we can talk about this.
Okay, so basically,
I'm sorry,
Why don't
let
you
her finish.
Ms.
Yeah, go ahead,
Johnson
yeah.
finish, no,
Go ahead,
let
I'm
Ms.
sorry,
Johnson
go ahead.
finish, and then you.
Heldon does have a league. We do, however, fall under Patterson, but we have a league. If we didn't have a league, then
That wouldn't have
the town wouldn't be, you know, sponsoring or whatever, right? We have a league, that's right.
So that's
And
why,
girls can play,
And
Yeah.
girls can
Yes.
play for
Girls
Warriors.
can-
so again, back to my question, if our team members
Right.
from Heldon are now part of a different team called the
We
Warriors.
don't know that.
no,
Well, he said it. He was blunt about it.
Yeah, he's
He
taking-
said he took the
he
coaches
said
and he
he's
took the
taking some
students.
up to the-
Yeah.
But we don't.
no, that's what I'm saying, he
But
left.
saying that, where does that leave Heldon? So this is a topic for Heldon to figure out with Heldon's sports recreation department. And then I guess we can table this and have a conversation about it.
Well, you know, the issue-
Right, you know what I like
But-
to say also, to piggyback off of what, the gentleman said, you know, Heldon doesn't have anything, Heldon doesn't have this, Heldon, and maybe this is why, because we have to keep what Heldon has in Heldon.
Right.
And support our Heldon teams.
Right.
Our Heldon public school team, a
Right.
towns team, and that's it, I mean.
I wanna just add
Go ahead.
that he did mention it was for girls. like the softball for girls, like we didn't have a girls team or.
We have
That he added.
We had
Well,
one
he
last
also
year.
mentioned the boys. He added the girls to it. but
We,
that was
we
just
added
like
it
But the
last
Warriors
year.
also
It was
have
added in
girls.
last year.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're
Right,
playing
we
out
added
of
it last
Wayne
year.
and they're playing out of Totowa, so essentially, if you're gonna just have Wayne and Totowa, their kids as well, then they could be over there, and then Heldon kids can perform in Heldon. I mean, we do wanna, like, Cousin said, stick together, not divide the kids up. Why should we have to go to other towns to?
Right,
If
and
we have a league already.
Right,
And
and-
a school,
And just for my sake, and I have parents here that their kids play for me forever, all right? This is 25 plus years. So the main thing and the biggest concern that happened is that last year with the CEO of the new program that's being sponsored and being put together is that I ran the program. It's, not my program. I ran it through Heldon, through the borough. And basically what happened, I've been doing this for the last 8 years in Heldon. So it was a lot of stuff going on. And one thing that we can't do, and POTY doesn't allow it either, is for us to take our kids and take them to Totowa or Wayne. You're not insured. And that was the biggest factor. You're not insured. You can't just go to play in another league and don't have the proper insurance
Madam
to
President,
cover for the kids.
I thought we discussed this before.
Yeah,
We did, but he spoke in public and we wanted
But
to
it's
address
okay.
it. We wanted
So
to address it, but that's fine.
What we decided was that the Community Engagement Committee is going to get together. So now Mr. Tahada did come, he gave some additional information. Mr. Waka, I don't know if you said you were gonna reach out for, I don't remember now what, but,
I think this, you were good.
okay, so you'll reach out to him. Okay, so just any other documents, information that he can provide?
My
Yes,
thing is this, Heldon kids that have been playing for the last 2-3 years, you just can't get up and just leave. And if that's what happens, the parents need to know that they're not under the Heldon umbrella, and I'm fine with that. Because I can, we always gonna be able to coach out of,
Yeah.
the league belongs to Patterson anyway, the one we're in, because they allowed us to use their insurance. Now, Totowa Wayne
we are under them, we are a Heldon.
team, we're a Heldon team, but we are grandfathered in, and that's been going on for the last.
So Ms.
20 years.
Quadrado, if you need to reach out to Ms. Motzko or
Yeah,
and
reach
Mr.
out.
Tahada to gather some information, get together with your committee members, and then come to, it'll be on our agenda for our next meeting. Come to the meeting with a recommendation to the board.
And the chairman for
And then
the
we'll
rec.
vote, and then everybody will vote as they see fit.
Right,
I really don't have to figure it out.
all right,
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
I
yes,
think that's it.
that's it.
Can I have a motion? And,
Motion.
okay,
Second.
okay.
All in
Moved by
favor?
Ms. Johnson,
I wanna
seconded
make
by
this
Mr. Oh, wait, sorry, wait, hold on. Mr. Guzman, you have something else? Yeah.
No, I was just voting yes to adjourn.
Oh,
and,
yeah, okay, so wait, let me say it,
yeah.
Moved
Go.
by Ms. Johnson, seconded by Mr. Coletta, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.